right, Pitboss review number 5 here with a friend of mine and a guest, Ghsep. Yes, and okay, say a couple things, just get these levels up.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah, that's better. That's
Okay,
better because
there
I
we go.
talk closer and
Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Yeah, really? You can't tell.
Dickhead. Yes, this is my first rodeo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be playing with the levels a little bit as we go, but we'll figure it out. When I did the podcast with Dusty, I did like 40 episodes, but somebody else did all. Russ did all of our audio mixing and stuff like that. So now I figured because I'm recording punk rock a lot that. If I can record a band, especially a solo band, I could probably do a podcast. It's just a longer track, right? And so I started doing this, and I'm spitballing. You know? So far, it's working. You know, I've got audio tracks. Everybody's happy. I can put it on YouTube, and if I can get it on YouTube, I can get it somewhere else. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like Spotify. Are you thinking about Spotify? Or?
I wouldn't mind Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
There's this thing called Libsyn. You sign up for it, and they apparently just send it to all of the different things, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to figure out how to navigate it. I'm not a fucking scientist. I'm an evolutionary throwback from a time when, like, ugh, you give me thing, I give you thing, you know?
Oh, hot girl, yes. I like. Come here.
Club on head,
fish,
convince, make baby practice.
Good job.
So, and it's weird because doing a podcast, I'm still contributing to the flotsam and jetsam of internet trash.
Yeah.
You know?
The constant stream of garbage that is just piling up.
Exactly, it is. Like, I think digitally there is that, what do you call it? I like the flotsam and jetsam, just the debris, like we just talked about this the other day with Kurt, the plastic island floating in the middle of the ocean.
That's what I was thinking in my head.
It's just like a bunch of garbage that's just left out in the internet forever, like abandoned websites. And like, you ever go on that Wayback Machine?
Oh, I've heard about it. I've seen some videos of them being like way back when.
It's fucked. Because if you find an old website that doesn't exist anymore, right? Like, let's say somebody had some sketchy shit up on the net and they didn't want anybody to know, so they deleted their website.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go on Wayback Machine and check out that address. And it's an archive. Man, okay, so I ran Unrest Initiative, which was our self-improvement program for a long time.
Yeah.
And because I didn't keep my payments up to date because I thought it was like an auto withdrawal from my Visa. I missed on my domain updating and they just deleted the entire website, and that's like essays and all of that shit. And I'm like, what the hell? I didn't archive any of that. So, and they're like, yeah, we can't put it back up for you. You're going to have to figure it out. So I went on to, what's it called? The Wayback Machine. And I put the address, unrestinitiative.com on the Wayback Machine, and boom. It had archived all my essays. I could copy and paste and screenshot anything. Yeah. So all this junk that people are dumping on the internet stays there. Yeah. The internet doesn't forget.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, just think about like what happens if an AI gets loose and they're just like fucking taking everything in.
We just talked about that. What was it? The internet is, or what we consider the internet, the easy access internet, is going to be the cerebral cortex of the coming artificial intelligence. It's going to be its memories. Yeah. It's
well, that's how they learn. They're learning from us. So like if we like it's cut out.
Yeah, I just hit the headphone jack.
They're learning from us. So what happens? There was an X-Files episode about that. It's like, what kind of teachers are we? Like who's learning from us? And like, sure, we're learning from each other, but at the same time, like, we're trying to create this fucking force and beat God, and then we never know what's gonna happen. Like,
well, we don't even. I don't think some people that are thinking ahead and actually are familiar with what's happening with artificial intelligence and the move towards ASI, from artificial general intelligence to super intelligence. When it becomes self-aware, you're creating that cyber god. Some people are paying attention to it, but the vast majority of social media users, they're just masturbating in their own feces. Yeah. They're just like, I'm posting anything I fucking think, as toxic as I want it to be, and just feeding that algorithm's knowledge of what humanity is. Yeah. We just talked about this again, like the beauty and the creative aspect of the human experience is vastly overshadowed by the negative toxicity. that we're dumping on the internet.
It's lost in this fucking sea of bullshit and just anger and hatred and like fucking you're a this and you're a that and like it's
divisive.
This divide, yeah. Like I was talking to someone a while ago and they're like, well, maybe we should be divided, and I was like, at that point, I was like, well, I mean, maybe we should, but also like, well, you know, like I don't know if I should be talking to you anymore, man. Like I can't trust you with a word that I say now.
I shared this meme and it's hilarious because it's applicable on so many different levels, and it's a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like a lot of my thoughts are basically unshareable with people.
Yeah. Well, I've had that thought. I've had that thought for a very long time, and a lot of times I haven't held myself back. I mean, being like a young like shithead who like just fucking. I mean, especially with me because I was so sheltered for so long, right?
Oh
like,
yeah. I wanted to touch on that. I gotta write this shit down. Actually,
yeah, man, I was so sheltered for so long. So the idea of like getting out of that, and then, not answering to anyone, you know, like not answering to anyone. I could go and I can say whatever I want. I'm free to have my own thoughts. I'm free to fucking jerk off all I want, you know, like
watch porn and eat Fruit Loops.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, like, okay, so I mean, I guess this is where we can get into it, you know, like going to an evangelical cult and like a Christian school and being there every single day, being in the building in some way, you know, like.
I'm just gonna interrupt for a second. Just to be clear, there are things that we can talk about that are not supposed to be publicly disclosed. But I think if we don't have real names, and we don't talk about
names.
the official facility,
no,
we can tell the story.
Yeah,
that's rad.
That's in my head. That's in my head. So I'm not gonna, because like a part of my like I need this to be pulled back a little bit because of what is going on and the importance of like, so I'm not going to talk about names that, I don't want to.
Let's go with broad strokes, the situation that you're in. You were raised in an evangelical cult. Cult.
Yeah.
And right now there is.
Yeah.
And that's all we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But other than that,
maybe don't put that in there because we don't need to if anyone's listening and anyone can figure it out, you know, I don't need that to be tipped out to tip.
I can edit that out. I'm learning this. Pretty cool.
For sure. Okay.
So you were raised in a cult. Let's just go there.
Yeah.
And you escaped the cult, and now to a degree. And because it is still pretty local, it still exists, and it's a Christian cult.
Yeah.
And you found a different path. You're a pretty goth guy. Anytime I've known you, you've always been a pretty goth guy.
Yeah, and like the essence. The essence of goth is inside me. Yes.
Well, and that's the thing, and it's really interesting because I've obviously got a serious interest in religious studies and what spirituality could represent versus the indoctrination of like the Abrahamic faiths.
Oh yeah.
Like my perception of what God could represent is a much wider spectrum, like a universal kind of awareness versus you do this, like the angry daddy on Mountain Daddy, you know, who's gonna spank you for doing the wrong thing. So you were raised in this environment, and then you got out. What was?
Yeah. Okay, so like I mean, let me first talk about the environment because man, it was just there was 500 to 1,000 people, including like the children that went to the school, and like this is the church. They're very much one and the same. So it was every single day. Like I obviously school like Monday to Friday, but then there's like a Saturday night service and a Sunday morning service. There's a Wednesday night service. There's Tuesday morning prayer. You know, like it was just so ingrained in it, and you're around adults who you think are good, you know what I mean? So
because the entire principle is based off of moral teaching.
Yeah. You think like these people are like have your best interest. You think that they're, you know, so they're also watching you at all points in time, and they'll fucking rat you out in a second. So like,
and ratting you out would that be like excommunication?
Oh no, well, okay, so that would be like they would talk to someone in authority, and then you would potentially get disciplined in some type of a fashion.
What would be the discipline?
Spanking.
Physical, like corporal punishment.
Oh, corporal punishment, man. Corporal punishment. There would be other types of discipline. Like I was forced to push a wooden board with a towel wrapped around it up and down a gym floor. It was like quarterback, halfback, fullback.
Yeah, running suicides is what we used to do in gym.
Yeah,
that was our warm up.
Yeah, but this was like pushing a board. Like, my back is fucked, man. My back is so fucked from doing so many of them. Like,
You're a shithead.
Yeah, man. No, well, like that's the thing. Like it wasn't that I was a shithead. It was that I was rebellious.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah. They saw me as a threat to everyone else, as someone who wouldn't listen. As soon as they find one person that isn't gonna break and isn't gonna submit, that's who they single out on. And the thing is that every single person will know that you're supposed to, not every single person, but like a good portion of the community will know that they're supposed to watch you and see who and report back to. There's like,
because you are a potential upstart to the cohesion.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want your virus of freedom to infect
your thought virus. Yeah, man. Like so there was a bunch of us. There was a bunch of us that got it. There were girls that got it. There were guys that got it. There's one guy that's like seriously like in the mental hospital, like fucking being sedated. So like, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no. So if you questioned or disobeyed, like their version of the Christian teachings, was it very Old Testament? It obviously wasn't.
It was New Testament.
Really?
It was mostly New Testament. It was like fucking like it's the evangelicals, like it's they've got fucking like electric guitars and like jumping up and down and speaking in tongues and fucking revival, like like lots of offerings, man, lots of taking up offerings. It was
like
weird.
Money, give us money.
Give us your money. Sometimes there was like fucking 2-3 offerings a time. Like it would get to be really intense. Like people are jumping up and down and screaming and like praising this fucking God in quotations. Like
because I like the Bible. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
The good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I'm like, all right, here we go. Let me just get comfortable.
But I really boil down what I take away. There's two different Bibles. You got the fire and brimstone judgment God of the Old Testament, and then you've got the love of your neighbor and be generous to your neighbor because we're all in the same boat. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like the Sermon on the Mount, and the book of. John, he's a helpful dude, and he just says love each other and be helpful, and that's about the extent of it. Like what the Buddha taught was the same, or what Christ taught was the same as what the Buddha taught in my books, right? But there's been a twist over the last few thousand years, and all the different sects have gone in these different directions, and their versions of God and their versions of like what Christianity was about. Like they're the enemy.
Yeah,
we're the only chosen.
Yeah, we're
tribe.
the only good Christians.
Well, and it doesn't matter. Like you got Islam, we're the chosen tribe.
Yeah.
Judaism, we're the chosen tribe,
it's
and
all
even
the same.
Exactly. And then even within Christianity, each little tiny sect is like we are the chosen tribe. Yeah, Lutherans, like, Baptists, Presbyterians, whatever it is. I think the United are like the only ones like we're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
but then people hate them because they allow like queer pastors.
Yeah. It's just. I mean, like the thing is that like. Where religion is now, the smart ones, they realize that they have to be more progressive. They have to be more progressive because they need to keep their business open.
Well, you think that's it?
I think a lot of it is that, and like this idea that it comes from the inside and it comes from love. Because like you can only be programmed so much before it starts to take over your subconscious, right? So this idea of being loving, I don't feel like it's very sincere. I think it's more like imperative for the business plan.
The sale of a product.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we can't. They're like, all right, we're gonna be literally fucking canceled if we don't,
if we don't say the right thing.
Yeah, if we don't tame this down a little bit, and I feel like in a lot of places the core of it. Like the core group of people will be believing in one thing, and they'll be like, like they're fucking puppet masters. They're just like ha ha ha. We know, we fucking know.
Well, okay, so I'm the opposite of that, where I feel I know.
Yeah.
and that they're corrupt, evil fucks. But so basically, that's just it. I believe that true Christianity, is based off of compassion for your fellow man as all being children of a divine creation.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. Like all the little, you're mistaking the letter of the law for the spirit of the law.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get fixated on the letter of the law, and it's easy to create a cult around the letter of the law.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're an open-minded individual.
I'm a bit crazy.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as after your first acid trip, it's kind of all downhill, right?
Like you experience a revelation, and then you can't go back.
And then you're like, you've opened the fucking box, and it's not going back in, right? Like there's no fucking way. Whether it's Hellraiser or Pandora, like you're fucked.
Yeah, good, bad, or ugly. We're gonna tear you apart and put you back together.
Yeah, and first of all, that's so important for us. You have to deconstruct yourself. You have to like deprogram yourself, and it's painful. And I think that's where like it comes down to for a lot of people in general. Like I'm not just gonna be like for men, like it's just people in general to like learn from themselves and to be objective and to look back and be like, hey, like what is this behavior doing? What is this behavior doing to myself, and what is it doing to other people?
How is it affecting those around
me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and first of all, like even for me, like if I have an altercation, not physical, like verbal, because I don't fucking fight. It's not.
I could see you being that. Hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah. Listen here, Sonny. But like afterwards, like I have this fucking pit in my stomach. And to acknowledge that and to look at that and not necessarily always think that you're right and like you're justified and your behavior is okay, but to like examine that pit, that feeling, and be like, this doesn't make me feel good.
Wouldn't that be more in line with what I would consider real Christianity?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay,
self-examination.
Yeah, self-examination. Yeah,
trying to be a better human being. But I think the church has lost their ways, and there's a couple different quotes here. Like, what is it? Woe to the Pharisees! You held the keys to enter through the gates, but you hid them, and you didn't enter through the gates yourselves, and you stopped others from entering through those gates, and you hindered them.
That sounds familiar. That's kind of like the if you cause someone else to falter, then you are at fault. Like like that's somewhere in there.
Hey, somebody's asking you how to get downtown.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I know how to go, but I've never been downtown. And I'm going to not tell you the right way to get downtown. You're going to drive all the way around the city before getting there.
You're going to take Circle Drive
It's
twice.
going to be night before you get there and all the stores are closed. Well, fuck, you're not really good at giving directions, are you?
No. And like what you said, like it is, as soon as man gets its fucking, I mean, I'd say man in a general term, like human, like as soon as humans get fucking their hands on something, especially when it involves control and it involves guiding people, and let's say for Christianity's purpose, like it gets corrupted so fast, and it just trickles down from the top, and like. Okay, like I said before, like you're an open-minded person, but like these people aren't able to process it in that way.
Yeah, well, they're not. Everybody likes a box.
Yeah,
and the tighter the box, the easier it is to exist.
Yeah,
and the more you try to get outside the box, that's scary.
Yeah,
nobody wants to go
outside of the comfort zone.
Yeah, my comfort zone's pretty wide. You know, the fact that I can chill in a church with like elderly people, and as long as they don't really look at my tattoos and stuff, and then chill in a BDSM dungeon in equal footing and say, hey, I get both places. It gives me, I've got a pretty wide, what do they call that? The Overton window of behavior. It's like the acceptable parameters, right?
Okay.
And the tighter your Overton window, left or right, if you got a really tight Overton window and you're, on the right wing, anything slightly social, oriented is like communism, you know? Or if you got a really tight Overton window on the left and you say that men have penises, oh my God, Yeah.
Well, it's just like you're easily fucking triggered.
Yeah, because that's so far out your reality. And I think in a lot of these hardcore Christian environments or any fundamentalist religion, it doesn't matter. You can go to the East and meet a hardcore, Hindus or
well, I mean, there's even Buddhist extremism.
100%. Yeah. And their Overton window is so tight, they wouldn't be willing to, look past that little tiny box they shove themselves in. But But, and this is where my principle, there was a golden age of Islam where they would just take every truth and these people would talk and debate and come up with like larger ideas on what God could represent to them, right? And I'd like to think it depends. Like you talked about the cabal at the very top that's like, yeah, we know how to manipulate people. I think the real holy men, you go to India and you meet a sadhu and they're like, hey, man, this is what God's about. And they're like, you too? Oh, me too. Everybody's chatting versus the control fixation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be open debate. There has to be like this is what it is to me and this is what it is to you. And like there's no fucking wrong answers because it doesn't matter.
Well, civil discussion, the goal is to get to truth.
Yeah.
Right? The goal is to get to truth. Are we not interested in truth, or do we already figure that we know everything?
Yeah.
And we just clearly have to prove that we're right to everybody else.
Well, like, I mean, how do we even know? We're talking about God, and like, how can we even know? Mm-hmm. How can we even know truth when we're talking about God unless you're fucking... I mean, if you're tripping on DMT, your experience is dedicated to you and what you feel and your surroundings. And like, and it obviously in DMT, you're going to a fucking another dimension and like seeing some crazy shit. But like, I don't know. Like, getting back to this, that's where like it's this illusion of control. Like, I want to tell you how I think, and you are going to therefore think like I think. Like from this cult that I went to, there was one guy on the top. There was fucking 4 elders.
So it was like a pyramid.
Oh, yeah. There were 4 elders, and then there was a 5th one, and then the other one left to fucking another, like, another province, and then all of a sudden he was bad, like...
he was, like, excommunicated.
Yeah, no...
what if he started an offshoot of the cult?
No, he essentially did, though, but he wanted to leave, and it's like, well, that guy was a big earner. That guy had, a lots of money, so then it's like, oh, we lose a revenue stream. Now we lose more people.
Weird.
Is there something going on?
No, I'm just getting a buzz. That's okay.
It's
so yeah,
Satan.
He left. Yeah, well, and so that's that binary thinking where if you aren't with us, you're against us.
Yeah,
and it's weird because when in the East, like the Hindus and the Buddhists, they took all like our negative stuff and they really analyzed it, and they realized that there is such thing as bad for good reasons, and those became what they call the Dharmapalas, the furious Buddhas.
Okay,
you see all the guys with like 17 arms and weapons and fangs.
Yeah.
Those are good guys. They're just furiously scary good guys.
Yeah.
But then these weird closed-minded people, when like let's say Christian missionaries or Christian archaeologists or cultural people went and studied the Eastern philosophy, they said these are demons.
Yeah.
This goddess Kali, she's obviously like in league with Satan.
Yeah,
she's a
she
demonic,
looks bad.
She's a female demon,
Yeah.
And she devours people and blood and like guts and skulls. Well, that's obviously evil.
Yeah.
Evil because it makes us uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, they see that and they take it very literally, and they don't think that they're like devouring the spirit of the man and changing the man, like they're
or
not
the ego,
yeah,
right?
the ego or anything like that. They're not really realizing like even back, it's funny because like missionaries, man, like those fucking like they had missions. People would go to the Philippines and they would come back and like we'd all be fucking celebrating and shit, and they'd tell us stories about how like revival is happening in the Philippines, and then everyone else would get riled up and man, there was one guy that would always like fucking somebody would say something and it would trigger him, and he'd throw his Bible up in the air and just fucking be jumping up and down and shouting and run to the front and fucking speaking in tongues and shit. I recently reconnected with him, and like I'm happy that he's like he came out now and like he's with his partner and living his best life, and like that's fucking great. Like I love that, but like he was stifled for so long, and that's the thing. But like man, it was just like the pyramid, like I was saying before, like it trickled down. It was like okay, so my mom was counseled by one of the elders' wives, and so they would all talk amongst each other with all of the people, like about all the people that were getting counseled.
So it was like a heavy gossip environment.
Oh yeah, and then they would send people like for me initially, like they had this Bible college. I don't know if they still have it, but they would send people like adults or people that I went to school with who graduated, like alumni and shit. They would send them to talk to me to figure out where I'm at, to suss me out a little bit. They would do that so much, and they would do that to fucking so many other people. And like, you would go to, if you wanted to leave, you would go to the pastor.
Like leave the church?
Leave the church.
Okay. Yeah.
Leave the church, and then you would tell him what you want to, and it's like, I just don't feel like God wants you to leave yet. You know, I don't feel, and like, especially if you were a big earner, if you made a lot of money, like they'd be like, we'll give it a couple more years, and then we'll see what God has to say. You know, we'll see what. Weird. And it's all about. It's all about control and manipulation. It's all about, so like when you like, I'm happy that you have this aspect about Christianity, and you can kind of have this like open-mindedness.
Well, I've never been indoctrinated into any church. Yeah. I just read.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can read it and with your mind, but like when like fucking give this to someone who hasn't had life experiences, who hasn't been aware, doesn't study all types of religion, isn't open-minded, and it's a very dangerous cocktail to, and like a lot of people take it literally, but then a lot of people are like, oh, you're just interpreting it wrong. You're just not seeing it, and like then it goes to like, man, like this school, it goes one step further in terms of like child rearing and fucking all that shit.
So it's kind of interesting. In the U.S., they've got homeschooling is huge, huge, and homeschooling. 75% of homeschool children are evangelical. I don't know the right word. Evangelical Christians. Okay. Yeah. So 75% of homeschool kids are evangelical Christians, and evangelical Christians make up 25% of the voting population in the USA.
Yeah.
There's this. I'm pretty sure it is called Jesus Camp, the documentary Jesus Camp. They talk about this.
I think I've looked at it, but I haven't watched it.
Man, do it. Like, because it'll resonate with you. You'll be like,
yeah. I mean, you're right. It will, but like, I don't know if
you're just done with it.
I don't know if I'm ready to accept or to watch information that will be like kind of harmful to me.
Triggering.
Yeah.
It's straight up triggering.
It's just it's like, because I've lived that. Like, I've 100% lived that, and that fucking shit, like, I just saw the intro and the trailer, and I'm like, that's my life, that, but that was my life every single day, not just like, not just a camp,
One of the, like, the
okay, that's just the name, the title. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
The one part, it's about raising children in these environments that they are completely removed from real life, and they're indoctrinated with an ideology, and then they're sent off to these super fun camps that are like, let's all cheer together, and you know that Harry Potter is a tool of Satan, and he's a warlock, and he will go to hell, and all that stuff. And so they're kept in this weird little bubble their entire lives. And then when they meet other kids, even other Christians, they're like, you're a sinner.
You're a bad Christian.
Yeah, you're a bad Christian. You're still going to hell. We're the ones that are the right. You're the wrong. If you're not doing what we're doing, then you're bad.
Yeah.
There's actually a Saskatoon. I didn't mean to derail you with that.
I mean, whatever.
Okay.
I'm fine. I'll recover.
You'll recover? Great. There's actually an author from Saskatoon, and his name's Colin Clay, and he wrote a book called No Freedom for the Mind, a study of cult phenomenon from a Canadian perspective. I remember this guy coming to my high school and talking about cults. And he laid down, there's a checklist of things that cults will do in order to indoctrinate and brainwash people. And I got a ton of information on this in the back of my head, because when you see that checklist, and it involves removing individuals from any outside influence, physically, emotionally, psychologically, so they don't have outside influence.
Yeah, it's like no family, like extended family. If you don't go to the church, like to touch on that, like my dad didn't go to the church. He was always working in the restaurant, and so my mom would come, but like they viewed me as a single parent family.
Just because she was in the faith.
Just because she was in the faith, and my dad was too busy. Like, he believed in God, and he was, like, Christian to an extent, but, like, he didn't go. Mm-hmm. So, like, it was like, oh, you can't go to his family's this or his family that. Like, for instance, like, a lot of information that I could have gleaned from my grandpa and my grandparents, that was stolen from me. Mm-hmm. stolen from me because there's alcohol involved. Like, I couldn't go on fishing trips. I couldn't go to the farm. I couldn't, and I didn't have time. Like, it took, my grandpa passed, and I went to the funeral, and I didn't even necessarily care. It's weird for me. Like, I have this view on death. Like I celebrate death. Like, if you die, like, fucking lucky bastard,
Yeah.
Like, but like for me to be there and see the emotion on the people's faces and to tell stories about my grandpa, and it just kind of clicked. Like, this was fucking
lost on that.
I lost out on like, he knew so much about, like, mechanics, like farming, like any type of the man was like an information, like, fucking cache that and I looked at it like what the fuck, like, this isn't okay.
That was robbed from
me. It was stolen from me, and like, sure, like, valuable time that I could have spent with this man and gotten to know him, instead of just like coming around Thanksgiving and him like giving me a kind of a ribbing and like, asking in like superficial talk.
You didn't have a relationship. And probably to an equal degree with your dad, where he's outside and you're church and school.
Well, I looked down on him, you know what I mean? Because he didn't go to the church, he didn't go to this, he wasn't in, and like, he apparently read the Bible, but like, like,
it wasn't the right interpretation.
But it was, it was like he was fucking wrong. Like, it definitely was, but at the same time, like, he perpetuated whatever my mom was saying, because he also fucking lived in fear of my mom. Like, my mom is this fiery fucking force at that time. Like, everyone was scared of her, just like this fucking toxic individual, like especially with her being like part owner of the restaurant and like could fire anyone or what. She'd come in there, like, especially with like fucking the pizza place, like, I mean, both of them that they started, like, people were like terrified of my mom.
Well, yeah. Well, there's two ways with that, like, fundamental belief in truth gives you a confidence and a power that, you are not wrong. And I'm part of a larger cause. Yeah. And if you contend with me, you're contending with the larger cause.
Well, this is where it bleeds into the occult.
Yeah.
This is where it bleeds into like the idea of like you just fucking focusing your will onto this idea, like let's just bring fucking what's his face? Oh man, that like David Bowie, massive occultist, like his
I'm not too familiar with any of the Bowie stuff.
Oh man, his mindset, like with Ziggy Stardust, it's like you become this kind of person. It's like chaos magic
or method acting.
Yeah, it's like it's you repeat until you believe. And then you have so much power because it's solidified inside of you, and that's this confidence that you walk with, this idea that you have, it can bring you places. And I think that's kind of where like the religious people, like Christians, they don't want to acknowledge that. They see it like the power of Jesus, the power of Jesus.
Well, that's an egregore in its own right. They've created a thought bubble, a principal archetypal bubble of something, and it's based on belief and common belief. The Nazis with the whole like Aryan mythos was the exact same thing. Like, you can sweep an entire nation towards approval of genocide if that egregore is big enough and powerful enough.
The small steps.
Walmart, McDonald's, these are all these huge, just imagine on an ethereal level, these just big creatures that sometimes they devour each other, and sometimes when people stop believing in them, they get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Christianity or Abrahamism, the God of Abraham, is a huge egregore because it's got all these different filters that all these people believe in, YHVH, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever name you want to go with. And that egregore, through violence or propaganda or colonialism, has grown and grown and grown.
It's a hive mind. Mm-hmm. It's 100% a hive mind. It's this stuff, and that leads also into the occult of like manifestation. And like if billions of people are believing this one thing, and they, like, say like the end times or the end of the world or whatever, then we're perpetuating that narrative.
Yeah, my partner's on my case all the time. because I tend to be a doom pill guy.
Oh yeah, me too, 100%.
But she's like, how much of that are you actually manifesting? Like, you're bringing it into your life by reading about it, by talking about it, by putting it out there. Like the artificial or AI, the AI, artificial. Well, you're manifesting it. The more that you pay attention to that. Right here, right now, I go outside. It's a beautiful day. My dogs are running on the lawn, and We're down here in my creepy dungeon.
Your fucking sex dungeon.
Sex dungeon.
2 brothers.
With fire and like candles, and we're like talking about the doom and like so what's reality? Really,
I mean it's all bullshit at the end of the day. Whatever's gonna happen. Like, there's somebody somewhere creating it anyway, you know? And I think the fact that we're talking about it is because someone's, obviously, like, someone's creating it. Like, if they're not making it, then why would we be talking about it?
Well, something that really, I just talked about this the other day, where people are so eager for the idea that we are living in a digital simulation. They're totally down with that. But the idea that we're living in a metaphysical simulation, or that we are all just the mind of God imagining this, that's too far gone for them. But, if it's a computer, that's something that's tangible for them. And I find that very interesting, this dichotomy. This is good. This is bad.
Well, like, I definitely touched, the simulation, I've clued into the simulation a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And whether it's a computer or whether it's like us experiencing ourselves, there's no, cause let's say like the video game Sims or like fucking Grand Theft Auto, I play Grand Theft Auto a shit ton, man. Like I have many millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. I just made a joke the other day, or when I found out the amount of money that Amber Heard has to pay to Johnny Depp, I was talking to my buddies. I'm like, oh, that's just like 5 heists on GTA 5. Like, no big deal, but you're going around this open world, this fucking sandbox, and you're just raining destruction upon this whole city, like blowing shit up, and like you see someone an NPC walking around.
It's a safe space for sociopathy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's like, but at the same time, it's not. It's not a safe space whatsoever. Like the amount of fucking hate messages I get just for doing whatever. Like, man, I'll be rolling up, man. I'll be fucking. There'll be a bounty on some guy's head, and I'll kill him, and then drive off, and I'll just get fucking like, you fucking loser, you fucking that broke. And I'm like, bro, the game is designed. It has a fucking red skull on you, and I get $9,000 for fucking shooting you, bro. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want? It's like there's this whole thing where you can like, there's bunkers, and you pay for supplies, and then like you wait a period of time, and then your bunker's full, and you deliver the goods.
Okay.
And then when you're delivering,
GTA has changed so much.
Man,
the online
insane.
Existence of it blows my mind.
It's so insane. Like so you deliver the goods, and you're susceptible to all sorts of fucking just tomfoolery. So anyone can come and fuck with your shit and blow up your shit, and then you lose like fucking.
They try and jack you.
They don't jack you. They blow it up, and then you lose like fucking $250,000, or like, like it could be, if you really get good at it, it could be like $3 million sometimes, if it's like double XP, double money kind of weekend. Okay. So but the person that blows it up will only get $2,000.
No wonder you're getting hate messages.
Oh man, so like they're just like, what the fuck? And I stopped doing this a long time ago because it just was pointless, and I want people to get money and like, be able to buy their stupid shit, because the game is solely created for you to waste as much fucking time as possible to do the most monotonous fucking things ever. Like, it's just like, go here, go there, and like I've figured out a way to grind to the point where like I can do one heist and make like $1.5 to $2 million in an hour. Mm-hmm. So like I do the actual heist. It takes me 13 minutes. I get the time bonus. I do it solo. And that.
Do you Twitch or stream or anything?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have.
You'd be a funny fucking dude. You should consider it, man.
I am, but at the same time, like I just. It's
an income stream.
It is.
You're doing it anyway.
It is. You're right. Oh, but then I gotta buy a computer. That's like $3,000 now. I don't want to fucking build a PC. I should have done it before this fucking last 2 years of our lives. I don't want to say the C word. Yeah. I'm not gonna say the C word because we're gonna stay away from that fucking. But sorry.
Back to the simulation.
Back to the simulation. Yeah. So like you're fucking raining fire down on these fucking NPCs, and they're running in fucking terror. They're just like running in terror. They're driving around. You fucking shoot someone, and they're just speeding off, getting into accidents, and like fucking. So how much of that do we like to them? Like, is that you know what I mean? Like we don't know what we're creating.
Imagine the serial killers of our society actually just being some ethereal consciousness drops in and they take over.
Yeah.
And they say, I'm going to play around now.
Yeah.
This is my game.
Yeah.
If this is all our experience, our life experience, it is what it is. And the real rule that we have to deal with in our life is the consequence of action.
Yeah.
Right? That's karma in a nutshell. I don't believe in, what do you call it? The metaphysical, if you do bad things, karma will get you times 3, the Wiccan idea of karma.
Yeah.
I believe more.
The threefold.
Yes.
The rule of 3 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think that it's for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Mm-hmm. You know, that's karma. Yeah. You know, there's consequences to everything you fucking do, and it's going to affect you physically, emotionally, psychologically, or maybe spiritually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of it, no matter what, I don't really think that there's a maybe in this. Like, for instance, like, okay, so like when we talk about it affecting you, like, I don't think there is any such thing as a perfect murder.
Okay.
Like.
Well, somebody dies.
Somebody dies. Oh yeah, yeah. So like, I mean, lucky them, right? But like, realistically speaking, like, okay, say you get away with it. Say there's no social, no like societal fucking causes, right? Say you get away with it, but you don't. You there's no way to get away because you still fucking did it.
Yes, it's in the back of your head.
Yeah, and even if you can, even like, okay, so I had this conversation with someone the other day, and it's like, or it was yesterday actually, but like there is no good and evil. There's just like what society deems acceptable,
what you
and
can get away with.
What you can, yeah. So like, I mean, imagine if like let's say like 600 years ago or whatever. Like let's say fucking you're born in the time of the Danes and the Vikings and fucking all this shit. Like you go in and you're fucking tripping on mushrooms, just fucking raiding these bastards, and you're slaughtering people. Like you don't think that's wrong.
Well, because you're on the side of your culture.
Yeah.
But if you're the guy going around stealing babies into the bushes and
if you're
tearing them apart with your teeth.
If you're Krampus, then yeah, you obviously you
become the werewolf.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, these ancient cultures had terms for this, but like what we would consider a serial killer in our days, because we have the technology and, the means to highways and vehicles and shit like that. Back in the day, that would be you are a werewolf. Or you are a witch. You are possessed by some ethereal thing that makes you a monster. A monster.
Yeah.
And like that's just it. What is it? Werewolf by Montague Summers. They talk about how they're searching for this person this monster that's been doing these things, and then they catch a guy coming out of the bushes literally with a baby in his teeth. That would
be but then that's just the thing that humans do as well. We personify this person because we can't actually accept that like we are capable to do this with those types of things without an outside force. Like we have to put it up and be like, oh, those are demons, like battle your fucking demons, like and that's some other bullshit that I fucking believe is like this whole fucking like basic bullshit of like, oh, we're fighting our demons, and realistically you're just personifying this shitty behavior into this massive force that you think that you have to
you're
battle.
Taking it outside yourself. It's not coming from you.
It's
something attacking you.
And even if I'm not religious or anything like that fucking bullshit, and like, but then you say things like, oh, I'm just battling my demons, and it's my personal demons. It's like, well, no, you're just a piece of shit, and it doesn't matter if you're a Pisces or a fucking Scorpio or a goddamn fucking asparagus, man. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like
Mercury is in Gatorade.
Yeah, like, fuck, man, like.
Okay, so. Just there's a common term in psychology or a common in sociology that hurt people, injured people, injure people. So somewhere along the line, if trauma gets injected into you, if left untreated, it will fester and grow malignant, just like a sliver, and that will grow into progressively darker and larger impulses to take that pain out on other people.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of serial killers, you go into the profiling, and almost all were abused as children, and it became malignant. It twisted their direction, and they go off the rails. So.
Well, you're kind of just describing like my life, but aside from like the actual being a serial killer, like
we all tread that razor's edge.
I mean, we all are fucking traumatized and being actively traumatized, especially now. It's just how we process.
But that moral compass, you stay on the right side of wrong.
You see, like to touch on that, like I've done so much deconstructing of myself.
Yep.
And like looking back, like I mean, we talked. I don't know if this is part like we talked at the beginning, but like there were times like for 5 years of my life, I fucking was a recluse. Mm-hmm. Like nobody saw. People thought I was dead.
Yeah.
Like I was in this city, but I was hidden away, and I wasn't making any money. I mean, to the government, I wasn't making any money. It was I fucking did some like ritualistic sacrifice of my own self, you know what I mean? Like
blood
the ego
cutting.
I signed my soul away. Yeah, I did the fucking the spiritual satanic.
Yeah.
What is it? Spiritual Satanism. I did the fucking dedication. But it's more so like chaos magic.
Yeah, you're ritualistic.
Yeah. And like I definitely had like a death of self, and I sacrificed my ability. I used my ability to talk to people, and my like the way my behavior and the part of myself, and
so you sacrifice your social life.
Yeah, my social life, and like I mean like I'm talking like my ability to interact with people, like my actual. Like afterwards, when I got out of this, I had to relearn how to talk and interact with people. I was experiencing a lot of, well, obviously it'd be natural if you spend your time in your fucking basement for 5 years. Like you will forget how to interact, and going to the bank or going to the grocery store is something that would be fucking scary for you, So like this.
Man, I bought land up by Duck Lake off of an off-grid farmer who lived 30 years in his shack on that land. And he had no running water, and he had a wood-burning stove and a little solar panel to run a battery for his cell phone, which was a flip phone. Yeah. And when you watch him come into town to try and negotiate, our financial dealings, when I bought, I felt bad. It was like a deer coming into town. He's like, what the fuck? It was a big deal. And we, one-on-one, we could have great conversations. Yeah. But you get him with too much stimulus. Yeah. It was like watching a wild animal having to be reintegrated into a crazy environment.
Yeah. Or just like, I mean, like a caged fucking monkey that's like comes out and is let outside for the first time.
Too much room,
too much space. Like the brain can't comprehend, Yeah. And like,
they say the same about institutionalized prisoners that have spent their entire life in a cell. Yeah. It gets unlocked. It's locked up. They're safe. They're secure. They need to sleep on their own. They need to have their locks. They need to have their bars.
Yeah. I mean, they'll fucking sleep in that's the same with like soldiers and whatnot, because they dig their beds, right? And then they get home, and then they fucking sleep in the bathtub, or they sleep somewhere where it's like this enclosed area where they know that they're safe because they're so used to it for so long. But like on the for the prisoners, like then they're just like, in a way, some of them, I bet they're like longing to get back.
Well, that's their conditioning.
Yeah.
Their brain. This is how life is.
How do I get back to that spot? How do I go? And then they just end up reoffending and being
that's pretty common.
And then they're comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. It's an order.
Yeah.
It's very secure. It's order. I think that all the time with all these people wanting to trade liberty for security in our society.
Yeah, the great illusion.
Well, and I'm thinking so much. I'm like, how helpless we are as organisms in the grander scheme of things. If I was dropped naked in the middle of the bushes, will I live? No, I'm going to fucking die. Yeah. I need water, I need shelter, I need fire, and two of those are technology.
Yeah.
So we're pretty useless as animals, and we've been conditioned to depend on these structures.
Yeah.
Right? And without these structures, we flail.
Well, like that just makes me think about the consistent weakening of humankind over generations. it's really hard to touch on this subject without like pissing people off. With what I'm about to say, obviously.
I'm pretty comfortable with controversy.
I welcome it as well. But like, you know, like if you want to fucking talk shit to me, my Instagram handle is Ghsep. You hit me up.
How do you spell it?
Ghsep.
Cool. So you can take that on.
I can take that on if you want to.
I'll just laugh at your horrible shit.
I'm gonna screenshot it and put it on my stories and like further perpetuate that I'm a victim of the society and the people. You know, whatever you have to say. But no.
So does this deserve a trigger warning?
If
you're listening to this, we're far beyond trigger
we're way
warnings.
far beyond that.
We're talking about babies being torn apart by werewolves.
Yeah. So like when you think about people over the time, like we used to be fucking warriors. We used to be badass motherfuckers, and we've become like sedated and we're basically fucking house cats,
domesticated,
declawed. We like, you know, every single fucking thing. Like if there was a gun that went off and you know, you're instantly fucking in terror, right? Not necessarily like you like if there's multiple bullets, you'll be paralyzed and stuff, you know, and like this sedation, if you will say that, like am I using that right? Like sedative, like sedation? Okay,
sedation. I like domestication.
Yeah. So like, let's just say like, this removing of this idea that like men are now becoming more feminine.
Okay,
like that's totally fine. Like I think that's okay. But like. Even like transitioning, like go for it, like that's great. But like when you think about these, like how we used to be, like there were two-spirit individuals, there were people who didn't, you know, there were very like fluid people back in the day, and it just didn't fucking matter. But they're still, I mean, it did, but to them necessarily it didn't matter, right? Like to the individual.
Actually, that's a pretty common conversation that comes up, is that indigenous cultures had this term called two-spirit.
Yeah.
I've got a book on cultural anthropology is part of tattooing, if you're interested in it. And I've got a book on like old school Plains Indian tattoos, and straight up, like this guy, he didn't want to get tattooed. He didn't want to go on the hunting parties. He wanted to hang around the camp and like help the women.
Yeah.
And he lived with a dude, and his uncle's like, man, the camp's talking about you. You need to.
Yeah, there's something
start
weird
hunting.
going on.
You need to start hunting. You need to man up. We're going to tattoo you over the next year until you have a proper hunter's tattoo. You're going to start hunting with us, and when you marry a woman, things will be right in the community. So the narrative that two-spirit was always like everybody's allowed to do. It's almost like the romanticization of primal people.
Yeah,
where, like they lived in harmony with the universe, and they never fought, and there was never any. It's just not true. I don't think.
Okay, no, I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that, you know, like, okay. So I'm, you know, I just want to take this time to say that I don't know everything and that I am full of shit and a lot of, but it's important.
A lot of two-spirit people were put as shamans.
Okay,
you're obviously different, so you're a very special case.
Well,
right?
like let's say like for Vikings and shit, like people who are like lesbians and like girl, like was that like I don't know, like
my understanding is that women warriors, but I don't think that there was probably a lot of dudes humping dudes. in those cultures.
I mean, in Roman times there was lots of fucking ass fucking.
More than that, Romans were degenerate sexually. Like dominance was very much a part of masculine sexuality.
Yeah.
So if you could dominate anybody smaller than you, that was okay to do. So and that includes women, children, fucking smaller men.
Wow.
You know, you were the dominant man. Roman sexual ethics are pretty reprehensible.
Well, I mean, like
consent really wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. To touch on that, like Rome is a very like. Rome is a template to what's happening now. Like we can see what happened to Rome, and we can kind of look at it and be like,
empire crumbling.
Yeah, an entire empire crumbling, like the degradation of our own, like the masculine and whatnot. Like even back then, like they as soon as men started questioning their masculinity and questioning it, was just a sign that like this is fucking, you know, it was getting to them. It was just fucking. So go ahead. No, well, I'm just like. I
don't want to go too far.
I don't want to go too far because I want to make sure that people understand that I don't think that like that there's anything inherently wrong with wanting to, you know, there's always a balance, like the masculine and the feminine. Like there is no like me as a man, like I have more feminine than masculine. like at times it goes back and forth, but like they're like every single person has.
There is a balance.
There is a
balance. You can go 20-30. You can go 90-10. You could go 50-50. And I think that's masculinity and femininity. That's not necessarily biology.
Yeah.
And these people, again, it goes back to that. They're believing the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law.
Yeah.
They're using the semantic wording that people are saying, and they're not looking at the larger picture.
Yeah. Or themselves in general.
Yeah, like, cool. You want to be... Okay. So the universe created individuals that don't feel entirely masculine or entirely feminine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Live however you fucking want. And you know what? If we're living in a society that says that you can chop your bits off or add bits on, you know, scientifically, that's cool too.
Yeah, body modification, go for it.
Live however the fuck you want. And you know what? And when you get into the esoteric element, the true divine nature of the universe is a hermaphroditic, self-replicating, just Ouroboros, you know.
Well, like opposite sides are the same.
Mm-hmm. Yin and yang.
Okay,
so yin and yang is a masculine and a feminine. And inside, each one is an aspect of the other.
Yeah.
But together, they create what's called the Tai Chi, which is the
yeah.
greater whole, is a balance between masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
So the huge divine is a hermaphroditic balance between masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they don't exist or that they're a social construct.
Yeah. So like when I say like the it's a sign of the degradation of the society and the collapse of the society, I'm not saying that initially the fact that you are becoming like transitioning or becoming whatever that makes you a bad omen or doing it's a matter of like you said, taking it too literally and in your mind like thinking and allowing it to affect who you are to the point where you want okay, you are who you are, but like for you to demand and require other people to adhere to this, like now we're into narcissism and now we're into like it's its own bullshit. Like,
okay, so I live in a neighborhood with like I think 3 mosques within walking distance.
Yeah.
Right? And anybody that goes to one of those mosques believes in their heart of hearts, their true heart of hearts, that there is one God. His name is Allah. Muhammad was his prophet. Peace be unto him. And it is the perfect book written by the perfect man and cannot be questioned. Do I need to adhere to their reality? They can live however they want, but do I need to adhere to their reality in order for their reality to be valid?
No.
See? And that's, I'm willing to let live and let live. But as soon as you start telling me, no, you need to accept my reality, my subjective experience, we're going to have an issue because your boundaries are now encroaching imperialistically on my boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a little island. Just let me be an island and you can be your island and that's cool.
Yeah.
And your little egregore or whatever you want it to be. But what I see happening in our culture is a movement with, I consider it all leftism, but whatever, the gender thing, where they're increasingly telling everybody what is true.
Yeah, which isn't real.
Well, and that's just it. And they're not, and the other side of the debate or conversation, not even a debate, the other side of the conversation is increasingly being silenced and kept off.
Yeah, because that's the idea that you can you can say anything you want about your opposition as long as you say the worst possible thing you can. Mm-hmm. You can say whatever, like all of a sudden it's like the Republicans kind of figured it out first, like, oh, these fucking satanic pedophiles.
100%.
You know, and like okay, yes, there are pedophiles, but why do you got to say satanic? Like just like yes, these fucking little bastards are fucking they're pedophiles, okay? Like yeah. Okay, but like take Satan out of it because like just take it out of it. Like, okay, like I had this big debate with a fucking tattoo artist and he was just insinuating that I was like accepting it, and I was like, man, there's nothing I can do to change it. At this point, I'm just it being like this fucking
societal structure,
but also this like this conspiracy type thing of like about satanic pedophiles.
Okay,
like I'm like, man, it doesn't fucking like. There's nothing I can do, and you want to say that every single person in Hollywood, obviously there are shitty people on this planet, but as soon as you say like satanic anything, I'm just like, man, this isn't
your opinion is
I'm
less
just like,
valid
man,
suddenly?
Yeah, for me, I feel like well, yeah, like that person, if you called them that, then it's like call them the worst possible thing you can call them.
You're coming from a vantage point where satanic also represent from your youth anything outside that little tiny bubble,
anything that's bad, you know,
is obviously,
and and then like the left does it too, where it's like, oh, you're just a fucking Nazi, you know, it's like this thing where,
and the right does it where you're a commie.
Yeah,
100%.
For sure.
If you want social spending, you're obviously a communist.
Yeah, yeah, and like that's just this idea that like you can silence your opponent by calling them the worst possible fucking thing, and then you'll get away with it in any,
because nobody likes the worst thing.
Nobody likes the worst thing.
Yeah, okay. So this is a very, very, very accurate thing. If you go on the right, especially the fringe right, everybody on the left is a satanic groomer pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on the left, everybody on the right is a Nazi, fascist, bigot, a transphobe.
Yeah,
and those are the narratives, and nobody wants to be either of those.
Nobody wants to be either of those things.
Yeah, so when you get to the center and you start balancing, like, fuck, you guys are whack jobs, and over there, you guys are whack jobs, where's the reality in what we're talking about? Because there are rooted truths in all of this.
In all of it, there's the sliver, just like, okay, when you get into conspiracy theories, and, like, there's a fucking sliver of truth in that thing, and for you to then just, like, it's just like everyone who wants to, like, dedicate their life to one person in terms of like political party, like there's one guy that's a fucking producer in the radio and he just loves Trudeau so goddamn much, and he'll fight for him to the death. And like as soon as you start worshiping these people, then you just start adopting their ideology, and it's like it's another form of indoctrination.
You do away with your critical thinking.
Yeah.
You no longer are able to look at this and say, yes, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
You just go along with the party line.
Yeah.
And in politics, there's a character in each party called the party whip. And his job is to make sure that everybody votes along to the party line.
Yeah.
So will anything get changed? Will anything,
No.
if like, hey man, I get it. We have to stop school shootings and we need to stop terrorism and quell crime. But do you really think this is the way of doing it? No. Then everybody will be like, but this is the way the party says.
This is the way.
This is the way the party says.
Yeah, this is the way that the fucking AI says, man.
Oh, well, maybe, right?
Like, I mean, that's the fucking other thing. Like as soon as, like, once you go into politics and say you get in and you want actual change, the system will fucking wear you down.
Even if you want change. In America, you got 2 parties you can be part of. In Canada, you got 3 parties you can be part of.
Yeah.
Or you're just some radical fringe guy that's
Green
like
Party.
not taken.
Yeah.
And there's the element that as soon as you say something that goes against, I don't know, the Christian values of the progressive conservatives or the liberal values of the NDP or liberals, as soon as you say anything, you automatically become that enemy.
Yeah.
The fact that the truckers were they were protesting a mandate that made them quarantine.
Yeah.
And suddenly, because they see a swastika flag being flown by somebody, they're
whole
all
thing.
misogynistic Nazis.
That gets into this whole thing. Like, obviously the guy who ran it is fucking on some shit.
Yeah, I've heard that he's a bit of a fucking bigot.
He's a piece of shit. So, okay, so one guy, all right, you want to, like, especially with the liberals, like, they want to talk about how this guy's an absolute piece of shit and that devalues the movement and everything.
Trudeau wore blackface.
Yeah.
Trudeau wore blackface.
Yeah, but then it's like, where are these people talking about like Black Lives Matter and the woman that just literally got fucking busted for embezzling funds and paying her brother like millions of dollars?
Yeah,
and,
I heard about mansions and
taking,
shit like that.
buying mansions and like all of this shit, and all I just see crickets.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with Ukraine and fucking Palestine. Like the same things fucking happening.
Yes,
right? And
literally.
and you see crickets on one side one day, and you see crickets on one side the next day, and nobody wants to talk about the fucking elephant in the room, that we're all just full of fucking shit, and none of these sides matter.
Increasingly, I see a narrative to hide the elephant in the room from the average gray man on the street.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast. From the old podcast to the new one, I've got a little bit more, under the radar kind of deal, like subversive thoughts on the Pitboss review versus bad ideas, good stories. But there's a generation of people that are indoctrinated by mainstream media, that are entertained by mainstream entertainment, that are all of their products come from the mall.
Yeah.
Right? And
fucking
that is
Marvel.
Yeah, mall people.
Yeah.
Marvel Entertainment.
Yeah.
Me and my fucking girlfriend, we wanted to go on a date night. We go to a movie. We wanted to go see Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
We lasted halfway and we got up and left. I'm like, how is this fucking... This is just bland,
yeah,
pre-packaged entertainment.
It's just regurgitated bullshit. Like everything in a movie you've seen before, it's all the same.
Yeah, you got your explosions, you got your fight, you've got your pre-made family unit, probably nowadays, ethnically diverse.
Yeah,
And then you've also have the car chases, the explosions,
CGI
the
out
CGI,
the fucking wazoo.
Woo, big colors,
Yeah.
big bright things. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so amazing. And then you leave and you're like, what did I just spend the
What
last
the
2 hours
fuck
on?
did
Or the
I
last
just
2.5
watch?
We walked out in the middle of it. It was
Yeah.
that fucking bad. And the conversation is like, what happened within the last 20 years, maybe 30 years, that changed storytelling and music with substance and poetry or literature to just bland entertainment?
It's not art anymore.
Yeah, Twilight is the vampire mythos of the 2022.
That was the nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely to talk about Twilight and then to go to Robert Pattinson in Batman. Like, have you seen the new Batman?
Yeah, the really dark one.
The really boring
the Twilight
one.
guy. Yeah,
the really boring, horrible one. Like, honestly, I just heard the fucking soundtrack. I'm like, man, I'm just like, this is just an emo fucking Batman. And like, it's boring. Like, I didn't even pay attention. I was just like on the computer and drawing at the same time while it was in the background. And like the end of the movie was horrible. And it's just like, something in the way. Like Kurt Cobain would not approve of that. Like,
no shit.
Like the idea that he like like everything he stood for and like individuality and just fucking opposing like the status quo. Like for his song to be used in that film,
he's gone. He sold it, or the remaining guys sold it. I see this a lot with Dead Kennedys. You listen to Dead Kennedys? Or are you familiar?
I'm familiar.
Super political, super socially aware, way before its time. Like, basically the crazy left now are living according to Dead Kennedy's lyrics. Well, maybe even a little further. I'm not sure, but with the gender shit. But otherwise, like, all the Black Lives Matter and calling people out and almost cancel culture are almost by the playbook to Dead Kennedy's ethics, right? And Jello Biafra left the Dead Kennedys. He was a singer. He did all the lyrics. He was the concept guy, but they wanted to continue going on. Yeah. And then there was this ongoing heated legal battles between them wanting to sell their shit to make money in commercial ventures.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a holiday in Cambodia, and Nike is running through, Cambodia, stepping on skulls and starving children. Yeah. And Jello Biafra's like, no, I'm not going to let you exploit my fucking vision or my art for profit. I would rather be poor and authentic than you capitalizing on this shit, right? So I wonder about that all the time. Like, these franchises, something legitimate pops up, but then it gets washed away by a flood of fucking
car commercials and
Chinese manufactured junk, for lack of a better word, product placement, But those authentic underground things, whether it's art, music, podcasts, whatever, will never get the public access.
The notoriety, essentially.
Yeah, that they possibly could, because they don't make money. Yeah. Everything's commodified. That's the thing about capitalism and, whatever, the egregore of profit, sacrificing your soul and life and art for money, is that if it doesn't make profit, there's no purpose to it. Yeah. Art for art's sake is dead. Music for music's sake is dead. Yeah. You want that prepackaged bullshit. And tattooing. Yeah. Once upon a time, it was like a tribal rite of passage that separated the warriors from the children,
and it was a ritual.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, it still is a ritual. I guess something I wanted to talk about with you is like the vulnerability that people put themselves in when they go to be tattooed by you.
That's valid.
They're trusting you, right? And you can't just trust any fucking dude, Well,
it's the same thing in the kink community.
Yeah, exactly.
As a top and
any person, I guess, because more than just dudes tattoo, So sorry,
some bad tattooer.
Yeah, and sorry, I was just. You can edit this out, obviously, but sorry.
We're not talking names. Sorry, so and so. Yeah, sorry. I'm not going to be able to edit anything on this deep in. So shit. Whatever. It is what it is.
No. Okay. Okay, we'll pause here.
I could probably just go, dude.
Yeah. Can you actually put a?
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna pause that. All right. So we just edited a little bit out there. We're back. We're back.
My bad, guys. All right. The unforgivable sin.
Well, okay. So you trust people with your skin for the rest of your life, or with your in the kink community with your safety and sexuality for the rest of your life, and you need to really know who you're sitting down with and what their intentions are and what their skill level is and what they're going to do. I've been tattooed by bad fucking people. I've got so many like tattoo abortions on me. It's fucking horrible.
Well, like then you also take into account like what you're talking about at the time. Like it is a ritual. It still is a ritual. And just because the person isn't ringing a fucking bell and putting a gold fucking stamp on you, like it still is like you are going in, getting someone to scar you for the rest of your life. You're willfully sacrificing your own comfort and experiencing pain for an end result. Mm-hmm. No matter what, it's a fucking spiritual experience. It's just the same as it was back then. Mm-hmm. It's just now you're more susceptible about like don't fucking go in high. Like obviously for different reasons.
Well, and I see a great watering down of our culture in that way, where it's becoming more and more superficial and more jewelry at best. I'm freezing now.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel the pain.
Yeah,
it's like you have all of the marks of enduring this ritual without any of the ritual.
Yeah, and you're not earning it.
Yeah, and I've moved into during my semi-retirement after I had some PTSD revelations, altered states of consciousness for weeks and psych ward things. I was going to retire across the board because I didn't like the lack of depth in the art anymore. Yeah. And then I realized that I just pick and choose who I tattoo, what we talk about. It needs to be private. We listen to our own music. We set our own atmosphere and and one-on-one conversations are great. Yeah. A room full of conversations, things get convoluted. No. And so if I go through 3 hours of intense discomfort with somebody I don't like, with music I don't like, with conversations that are potentially like fucked happening, all of that stuff's coming in, it's a bad experience, and I have the memento on me forever. Or even with the Me Too movement in tattooing, and where some tattooer has somebody under the needle, and they suddenly get fucking creepy and start making these like weird overtones. No matter what happens, they have a memento of that experience for the rest of their life. So good, bad, or ugly, and tattoo artists don't even care about this shit. Like most.
Well, they don't even realize either.
They don't realize how powerful that is. I've been tattooed to the point where it was an extremely negative and painful experience. There was no empathy and no compassion involved, and it was fucking toxic as shit, and I was gun shy for years to get the next tattooing done, because this person, there was no connection to what they were doing, which is why I'm a big believer that any shaman that you go to see to do your work with should have done the same work. Any tattooer that you go to see should probably have experienced the same pain. That and then that ups their empathy level. And
it's like I've never gotten a tattoo, and I'm gonna. Well, I have, but I'm just.
No, I know people tattooers that don't have a single tattoo.
And it doesn't make sense.
Well, how can they empathize?
You don't know.
You don't know what you're doing to people, and
at this point, it is just a job. It is just a thing, right? Back to the whole ritual aspect. If I wanted to tattoo initially, back when I worked for you, I didn't vocalize it because I remember hearing you talk about.
I've got some strong opinions
and I was like, but he's fucking right. That's the thing. I remember hearing you rant, and I'm just like, I'm looking around. I'm like, well, this dude isn't fucking wrong.
Yeah, people don't like that. I'm not cruel. I'm honest. And. Oh my God, my ideas on freezing, my ideas on the sacred aspect of our art, I could go off for hours about it, but I try not to, because it's like seeing the degeneration of culture. It's happening. The evidence is right here. I could show you, but it's going to be uncomfortable.
And well, obviously a lot of people don't want that uncomfortability. Okay, so for instance, you are the one who introduced me to Giger.
Oh, okay.
So I found the book, I picked it out, and you were like, oh yeah, I remember sitting up front hanging out, and I wasn't even reading it. I was just looking at the images.
All you need to do. But reading it takes you to a different level.
Yeah,
too.
okay, so like I remember looking at it and I had this fucking pit in my stomach, this gut-wrenching fucking feeling. And then the next time I come down, I read the fucking book and it is literally talking about that gut-wrenching feeling and that pit in your stomach and like the longing and desire to like be like that thing. And I think that was just that experiencing it in 2 different sessions. And like processing the gut feeling the first time and then going back and reading and it's just like this guy fucking reached into my, like he obviously was onto something, but like that the idea that like I cannot be put in an uncomfortable position because comfort is exactly where I want to be. I want to stay in my comfort, my stagnant fucking zone. Yeah. Like that's where, I mean, even for a lot of people themselves, they don't want to experience anything different or hear things that are potentially harmful to them. But like harm nowadays is like anything that will put you outside of the bubble that you're in.
Harm is relative. People mistake challenge for injury. The ego boundaries being challenged for actual injury. Yeah. See, and that's one of my huge issues with this new narrative about pronouns. If you don't respect my pronoun, you're injuring me.
Yeah.
No. Just because you're feeling a discomfort or you feel not seen doesn't mean you've actually been injured. I've spent my entire fucking life not being seen.
Yeah.
Right. Like so. Like, welcome to the club of not being seen.
Like this is nothing new to my experience of like even with like going like nobody like for instance like this is the first time my voice has been recorded onto something, right?
Well, yeah, I'd like to do it again too.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. This is good, and like to also then like have topics and whatnot like that, like to do some research, and I'm definitely interested in
just
that.
Bring a notebook back next time of things that you want to chat about.
Yeah,
and you can go.
Yeah,
but like
for sure.
That's a funny thing. Like I guess it's maybe the tattooing because I sit with everybody. I sit with like fucking everybody from like bikers to cops, from queer people to I don't know staunch right wing conservatives, and I can have an ongoing. And I've had ongoing conversations with these people for a long time. I've done over 6,000 to 7,000 tattoos with people. Yeah, right, and that's a lot in my career. Yeah. So that means I've sat intimately with that many different personalities, and I've realized over the years those people I can click with and those that I don't. Yeah. And that's part of my semi-retirement now. Like if you're just the basic Karen that comes in and you want your tattoo moved a millimeter to the right and it needs to be smaller, like maybe we're just not right for each other.
Yeah. Maybe you can go to...
Trust me, in my heart, it's like, get fucked, go away.
You're like, yeah. You're just like, I know the perfect place for you to go.
Not down the street.
Street. It's like downtown. It's a nice white building.
Okay. So yeah, I'm fucking Safe Space Tattoo Studios. I want to chat about this for a second because there's this movement in culture and in tattoo studios and in academia that everything needs to be a safe space. And this is to protect people's ego boundaries from challenge and from anything that's going to challenge their little insulated worldviews. And by virtue of what we do, and it carries over to the kink community, but also tattooing. Let's just talk about tattooing. By virtue, we're doing a challenge art. Yeah. We're doing a challenge ritual where you sit down. Traditionally, you would like smoke or drink or do whatever. You go into the hut. The men are there or the women. Yeah. Usually men. Women, I guess, did scarification, but men did the tattooing. And they say, okay, are you ready for this process? Yeah. Lay on the mat. We're going to do the process. We're going to burn the incense. We're going to say the prayers. Tuk, 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 tuk. For the next 6 hours, you're sitting there going tuk, 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 tuk. And that's all been removed. So now they're like, imagine you say, okay, so what's the Sundance? Okay, what's the Sundance? That means I got to wake up at dawn and I start dancing and I dance until sundown every night. Yeah. And I'm not allowed food or water that entire time. Yeah. And I do this 3 days in a row. Cool. But I want to do the Sundance and I kind of want to bring a lawn chair and a book and my cell phone and I want to have a thermos. I'll dance for a while till I get tired, but then I sit down. And at the end of the 3 days of just kind of like dancing a bit and sitting down, I'm going to tell people I did the Sundance. Yeah. Yeah. No, you didn't do the Sundance. Just like you didn't get a fucking tattoo. Yeah. If you froze it. Yeah. You have the mark of a tattoo. Yeah. But it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and it like, okay, so as someone who's never fucking tattooed, You know what I mean?
But you understand ritual.
I understand ritual, and like a lot of people, like even when I was younger, like I'm a fucking critical motherfucker. I'm pretentious, and as much as I talk shit on whatever the fuck, like I'm talking shit 10 times more than on myself. Then like and then like okay, so like but like
do they realize how much I've checked myself?
Oh no, they don't. Like no. and that's the whole part of like not being seen and not like when I was talking about like my voice and this is the first time like people only see me on my rants. My long fucking rants on Instagram.
Yeah, and it doesn't land on anything. It doesn't land.
There's no intimacy, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Is like as soon as, especially men, they hear the word intimate, and it's like, oh, that's some fucking whatever shit. Like I'm not comfortable with that, and like even right now, like we are having some type of a level of an intimate conversation.
We're in a relationship. Type of relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Every type of thing, and then all of a sudden it's like this sexual aspect for most men. They bring into it as soon as they hear the word intimate, right? And like the idea of like having a conversation with someone, and for instance this like right now me and you, like if I have to hold my tongue and watch what I say for you, for your comfortability, that's not a conversation. This is me just tiptoeing around whatever the fuck. And like for there to just be like, okay, I'm all for like people who like plushies and cutesy pastel shit and like I'll like go for it. But like to then like I've seen like tattoo safe spaces. And like they're full of all this cute stuff, and I'm like, that's fucking great. Like I like that. I like environment is key, right? And like, but that just doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? Like I want to go to a tattoo shop with fucking scary things on the wall and like all.
Because to me, tattooing is a scary thing.
It is,
and it should be a scary thing.
You should be in fear a little bit, and like even when
respect it.
Yeah,
you respect it.
Yeah,
and the respect has been robbed.
Yeah,
when you turn it into fluffy little jewelry. You're like, going to Claire's.
Yeah, like okay, in more so for me, the essence of it, like the essence of like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna free, like you're not gonna feel anything, like that is where I focus. Like if whatever's on the walls is whatever is on the walls. Like if you want to fucking put whatever shit you want, and then that's fucking, I don't have any business. But it's the essence. The core of that, like
the energy, the current that you're going in
the ability to say whatever the fuck you want when you want, and then if you say something wrong and someone checks you, then you get fucking checked. Like that's one of the biggest things for me. It's like, especially when I was younger, like fucking 21, like a filter off, like I can say whatever the fuck I want, and like nobody brought me like if I said something and somebody older than me brought me, like I have this form of respect, like I've respected you like for a very long time.
Thank you.
And like I've also wanted to do this type of thing for like since I seen your first like couple of podcasts, you know what I mean? And I've been like, man, I would really want to fucking do that. But like for instance, if you were to come to me and be like, hey man, I don't like what you're saying, like this is a different perspective, like I'm open to that. I'm open to this conversation as long as like it's someone who's not a fucking idiot. I mean, I'm an idiot, but like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
we're all idiots.
We're all, yeah.
I don't know anybody who couldn't benefit from an ego check.
Yeah. Like, I mean, okay, so like that's like for instance, like something that happened recently, like, like somebody says, oh, I don't, this guy doesn't like you because you were saying this and it's just like, man, I really wish that you would have come to me in that moment instead of like it being like 10 years now, you know what I mean? And like especially like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about now. It's clued in. But like, okay, so like this is the idea of like cancel culture now, but in a local form, right? It's just like, it's like, bro, man, we were both fucking drunk and we said some stupid
We were dumb kids.
I was 21 years old and you got 10 years on me, and I respect you as an artist and as a person.
You have to keep in mind that some people still haven't gotten their ego checked.
Oh yeah. I mean, but like that's the thing, and it's just like, okay, but like, man, we're a family, bro. You should be able to come to me and say, hey, like this is what's up. Like I don't appreciate that.
You hope so.
Yeah, and like but this is where we get this idea like between people, you know what I mean? That people, as soon as there's a fucking gaggle of anything, like a murder of fucking crows, then the hive mind delves What, I hear some weird fucking.
Oh, that's my furnace.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
okay,
it's picking up. Sorry about that.
Man, a scenic ocean. You know, like comes from my voice.
See, the thing about ego checks is you have to be at a certain level of personal evolution in order to process an ego check in a healthy way instead of going on a spiral where it totally destroys you.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, we're living in a society of a whole bunch of people that are about to get their egos checked in one way or another that are not prepared for those ego checks.
No.
You see it with the fragile white men that can't handle the potential for other genders.
Yeah.
You see it with these people that are transitioning that can't handle the idea of not being seen.
Yeah.
You see it with white people feeling they're being replaced. You feel it with people, BIPOC people that feel they aren't being seen.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of ego checking that's gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
You know, Callie is showing up and she's like wagging her tongue and she's got her blade in front of our entire culture and she's like, "Are you ready?" Because guess what? How important is your pronoun going to be when you don't have food?
Yeah.
You know, when wildfires are shutting down your house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like we end up banding together. There's this shirt I have and it says from a band Integrity. They're like an apocalyptic hardcore band and it says in order to save humanity will require the greatest fear they've never ever known.
Yeah.
And that'll do it.
That'll do it.
You know, you want to see people come together, tell them they got 6 months before the asteroid hits.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, like the thing is that imminent obliteration is different than imminent danger. Like imminent obliteration would be fucking chaos in the streets. I'm gonna live.
Think?
Oh yeah. Like
there's a few different narratives on it.
I would think that like if there's an asteroid coming, we have 24 hours to live. I think that like
24 hours.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, or like even 6 months. I think people would. The closer we get to it, the more unhinged we'd become. And then all of a sudden, like there was a Rick and Morty episode where it's like everyone's going fucking crazy because the Earth is crashing or their planet is crashing into the moon or there's a big asteroid and they're fucking each other and doing crazy shit and then Rick comes and fucking gets pissed off on the planet and saves the planet from obliteration, and then at the end of the episode,
what did I do during that whole time?
Yeah, no. At the end of the episode, they have these outcuts, the scorpion tails, and it's like these people coming into work, these aliens, and then the like. Someone's like, are you still mad at us? And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have fucked your son. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so I think that if there like imminent obliteration would cause a whole other form of spiral, like murders, like looting, like fucking tons of ODs,
but the consequences, because they think there's no more consequence.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because people in their core heart of hearts don't believe in consequence. You can call it the big G consequence.
Yeah.
the big karma consequence, the big God consequence, the big ethereal metaphysical consequence.
Yeah.
You remove consequence and what will people really do? You know what I mean?
They're totally unhinged. That also removing like the spiritual consequences,
well, that's what I mean with the big G and the big K.
Oh yeah, to be totally devoid of like feeling and empathy. I guess what I was kind of touching on is when people get into like these closed fucking scenarios, these hive mind. It's like they become the algorithm essentially of who they are. They become unchecked and they all become the same and they all just perpetuate this belief, and nobody inside the group is going to check them because they're also living in fear of what someone else is going to say to them, or like being fucking labeled as this, or being excommunicated from the group, or the disagreement, or like I'm not as alpha as fucking Buddy here, and he's the leader of the group, or like for instance even with women when like this feminist like bullshit. Like I believe in feminism for sure, but as soon as it becomes this talk, just like any type of thing, like riggers going out and then dropping N-bombs and fucking
super toxic.
Oh, like
super
total,
toxic.
like there's no fucking it doesn't matter what gender it is. You know, it doesn't matter. It's as soon as you get to a group of people who all think the same, all believe the same, won't challenge each other, won't have discourse and discussion. It's just like religion. It's just like Christianity, where you're indoctrinating each other. You're creating this fucking delusion, and then you're going out in public together and you're fucking wreaking havoc on groups of people, or you're threatening them, or like, you know, you're like, then there's this fucking control, the aspect of like controlling other people because you think that you are fucking hot shit because you're in this blah blah blah, this clique of people.
Well, I people need to realize that we're all, given a long enough timeline, our chance of survival all goes to zero.
Oh yeah.
And that inevitable doom is coming.
Yeah.
It is coming one way or another. Now, whether or not there's consequences, that's the thing about sociopathy, or I guess dragging the consciousness down into materialism alone, removed from these higher levels of awareness or potentialities. Let's just go with that, potential, because as an agnostic, a person will say, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But when you drag that consciousness down to materialism alone, there's no consequence other than what happens right here, right now.
Yeah.
In Judaic mysticism, they called it the Sitra, like the cliff off. I do what I want regardless, because I don't have any consequences, and that's sociopathy.
Yeah, and that's where people,
when you think GTA is real life, or real life is GTA.
Well, that's where people mistake like the "do as thou wilt" fucking shit. Do as thou wilt is more so like move down the path of what's good for you, not like I decide to fucking, fuck this or that and like do whatever the fuck and hurt
Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, like I don't. It's just, it goes back to the letter of the law versus the spiritual like aspect of it, and like people misconstrue everything. And
Crowley was very, very misunderstood with. Well, he also so this is the thing. He did some fucking really degenerate shit.
Oh man, like the period blood shit cakes that he fed his followers, and like fucking the way that he would. He does
ego challenging ritual. Yeah. That's the big fucking thing about old school Thelema is ego challenging ritual. Yeah, you're a straight guy, but we're gonna fuck your ass as part of a ritual, because we're gonna challenge your ego.
I mean, the total disregard that he had for just human life in general, like the fucking.
It's not a theoretical level. It's just in his behavior.
It's in his like the way that he would climb mountains, and fucking the people that he would come with would die. His children his baby died on the fucking side of on one of his expeditions.
It is what it is.
And going from one Scarlet Woman to the other, and like Crowley, like
you're my new temple.
Yeah, and like I mean, I love the story about like the Golden Dawn, how he got fucking kicked down the flight of stairs. So he charged the temple. He tried to do a coup. It was 2 times that he tried this. He was in a fucking kilt. The dude's not Irish or Scottish. He's just fucking in a kilt, like charging the temple of the Golden Dawn, and somebody just fucking boots him back. He's going up the stairs, and they just fucking kick him down, and he just rolls down the fucking stairs.
I can relate.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Like in the
metaphysically, psychologically, emotionally. Yeah, I've been kicked out of the temple a couple times.
Yeah, and like, fuck, man, like.
But that's okay. So the other thing is, I forget who it was. Crowley went to one of the meetings of Golden Dawn or whatever. They're like, hey, you've been fucking around with the Goetia?
Oh yeah,
and they saw it right away, and they're like, if not, like they've been fucking with you, So you got to be careful which areas you want to go in there, because you stare into the abyss stares back to you, or into you, right? And you got to really be careful with that. And
that's the like the dangers of like astral projection.
Any of it,
like
rituals, challenge.
Like I mean, I can say that I've fucking done some shit and seen results, and like I've realized that I made a mistake, and like I affected. It was results. It was the result that I wanted, but then to like actually be aware of the effect, and to affect someone's life, or affect someone that they love, and it's just like, okay, like I need to step back from this, and I can't necessarily do this because especially when you're mixing with like say like chaos magic and sex rituals, and like you have this fucking power.
Tell me more. What?
This power, like I don't know nothing. like a fucking.
Yeah, knock on wood. We're doing wood. For those people that aren't here, we are lliterally doing this podcast on a bondage bed, a huge leather bondage bed with like rings all the way around.
I'm laying on the bondage bed.
Give him a little tug. So tell me more.
Yeah. Yes, Daddy.
when you're playing with power and you're playing with energy and you like whether it's a formal we are doing a ritual or you're just doing things and you are getting something from that. There's consequences. There's real consequences.
Yeah, and like I mean for like those of you who don't know, like you don't have to have this fucking ritualistic structure.
It's all ritual.
It's
life is
no matter
ritual.
what. Like I mean, you brush your teeth, you wake up, you fucking go to bed at this time, you fucking fuck the dog, you know, whatever. But like it's just it goes. For me, like there's a lot of like psychological meditation and like projection of like where I am on this planet and in this fucking solar system, and like fucking visualization for me is a big, as an artist, obviously, like I mean most of my time as a kid, like it was spent alone, like imagining or like fucking talking to myself in like weird voices and doing accents and like all this shit and like some like essentially what Robin Williams did, you know, like I'm not comparing myself on any level, like
what whatever. Like method acting kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was raised by himself. He was by himself for most of his childhood, playing with toys and playing with this and like talking to himself, and like it was all him by himself. Like,
mostly like a neglected kid kind of deal.
Isolated as shit.
Okay. Well, routines here, I got this quote, I had to look it up. Routines are concrete, repetitive actions which help us develop skills while creating continuity and order in our lives.
Yeah.
But rituals are routines elevated by creativity, driven by intention, and imbued with meaning.
Yeah.
So those things we do, our everyday life, is a routine.
Yeah.
But when you start making that sacred and you start having an intention to do that, it becomes the ritual.
Yeah.
So going to the gym could be a ritual. Tattooing could be ritual. Creating art is a ritual.
Yeah.
Poetry is a ritual if you've got a bigger thing. In the East, the Hindus would call that a sadhana.
Yeah.
You know, your spiritual work. And they say that if you are dedicating the fruits of your actions to your higher cause or union with the divine, that is called karma yoga.
Okay.
The union of karma, consequence, and action.
Yeah.
Right? So the union of action is dedicating what you're doing to the higher cause.
Yeah.
And your life becomes ritual.
Yeah.
And this is manifested in Tibetan Buddhism when they do the sand mandalas.
Yeah.
You know, that they'll take days and they do these very intricate and beautiful things, and they've created this like thing that everybody wants to preserve forever.
Yeah.
But then
you can't.
But then they wipe it all away.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, why would you do that? It took so much time. Well, that's your life.
Yeah.
That's your life. You're creating a mandala at any time, and then you wipe it away. So people get really caught up in the ego shit of living in the past or living in the future, what they want the future to be and what they want the past to be, how it could be different. But we're here right now.
Yeah.
And we are here as a result of the consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
And what will happen tomorrow will be the result of the consequences of the actions we choose at any given moment.
Yeah.
So the person I am, the crazy little lunatic covered in tattoos in his basement recording and putting this shit out to the ether, to the inter-ether, this is a result of where I've been and what I've done in my life. Now, what'll happen tomorrow and next week or into my life will be a result of what we're even talking about right now. We are creating tomorrow, right? And anybody listening to that is participating in the process.
Yeah.
Now, that's our own mandala.
Yeah.
Now, at the end, it all gets wiped away.
Yeah.
But it was pretty well lasted.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Exactly.
But that clinging to impermanence is the big thing that Buddhism talks about, because it's all impermanent, and the harder you cling, the harder it's going to be to let go.
Well, I mean, this is where things are going awry, because now we're fucking creating AI to then lead to transhumanism, to then live forever and then not have to fucking die, and like that's not.
Isn't that a profoundly inorganic attitude?
Yeah.
Yeah. Death is the important part of life.
It's the most important part, because if we didn't die, the fucking horrors that we will do, essentially, like, okay, so I mean, like, to go into sci-fi fucking Netflix pop culture, like Altered Carbon, one of my most favorite fucking series. I love it so fucking much. What's his name? Kinnaman. Like the main actor. The first season is great. The second season, I'm not going to comment, because if you like it, then you like it, whatever. Yeah. But the first season, it's just
so in Altered Carbon, they have their basically their consciousness is a little chip that's in the back of their head, and what do they call it?
It's the stems.
The stem, okay. So and that can be transferred from sleeve to sleeve to sleeve, which is a different body.
Yeah.
And there's the titans of industry, which are almost immortal people.
The chems, essentially immortals, who have their like they can download their
memes.
stems to another. They have
The
so
cloud.
much money. Download it to the cloud. It can be fucking needle casted into any fucking sleeve anywhere that's like there, because they go multiple planets to planets and shit like that, and there's no actual like space travel. It's just fucking digital fucking transfer.
Okay. See, I love that series, especially the first season. But you seem to have like a real grasp on it better than I do.
It's just I like.
Have you done back studies?
No. It's just when I watch something, I really get into it. My mind just fucking combs over it. And over, like lots of fucking deconstructing and watching. Like, first of all, I love the series because it's fucking beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's really well done.
This cyberpunk style, you know, the fucking titties, you know, like just amazing. There's actually a Lucky Bastard bottle in that.
Oh, okay.
When what's her name? Or Detective Ortega reaches in the fridge at one point of the scenes. There's like a blurred out Lucky Bastard bottle.
That's a local distillery.
Yeah, that's a local distillery here, and I thought that was because you can tell the color schemes, and you can kind of see the pin up a little bit, but it's blurred out. Because like just they're not doing it on purpose. They're doing it because the focus is on her reaching, and then she reaches into the, you know. But to touch on what you said about like, or what we were talking about, death and like these fucking chems, they're never gonna die.
Or they think they would.
Well, yeah,
they're scared shitless of real death.
Of real death, like they're gonna die, they're gonna experience pain, but like this guy is living for like a couple hundred years or more than that, right? Mm-hmm. And he's just absolutely devoid of certain emotions, and he just doesn't give a shit. Like he can just go and fuck anybody he wants. He could go and kill anyone he wants. He can't real death them, but he probably can. You know what I mean? Like, but like, but
that's the thing. If you don't really die, do you ever really live?
No,
because it's just a continual game reset, which leads me into the idea of the Hindus specifically belief in reincarnation.
Yeah.
Like the Buddhists, depending on the school of Buddhists that you talk about, like the original, the Dhammapada, he says, don't ask me about metaphysical shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Literally, they're like, what happens after we die?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. I just know how to live right here.
Like how do I know? Like,
but the Hindus, they're very much into that reincarnation thing based off of the karma you create in this life. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about how your experience in this life creates your consciousness and, for lack of a better term, a color, right?
Yeah.
And as you move through the different bardo states of death, you get attracted to whatever color that your life created in this experience, and like almost just natural magnetism, you know, like attracting like, and that congeals into whatever new form you're going to take, whether it's a dust mite or a planet, right?
Yeah.
Or a star system or a human. And they say a human is a very auspicious birth because you have the ability to cognate all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you get to play around while you're here, good, bad, or ugly, you know? You'd get to develop whatever consequence. And I joked about this in a poem I wrote the other day, like, who's to say that the slaughterhouses aren't filled with people that once owned slaughterhouses?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a little like, I mean, it would be a quick reincarnation and a quick like death and you know what I mean? So like,
you want to do that? Here's a consequence of that, right?
Yeah. Here, like, I mean, okay. So for me personally, looking at all of what I've like, all the information that I compiled, and looking at the cycle of the earth and the like birth and death of all things around us, like even when you think about like Fibonacci and the Fibonacci sequence, like it's just constantly repeating, going in circles and going in circles and moving forward.
Yep.
You know? So like I do believe in reincarnation.
I don't necessarily believe the me that likes, like, let's say peanut butter and jelly sandwiches carries over to the next world.
Oh no, like there's certain data that's lost in
100%.
You know, it's
your
like
ego data.
Yeah, like it's the. I mean, okay, so let's talk about like spiritual Satanism for a bit. Like, okay, if you're familiar, are you at all?
I'm pretty versed in various schools of Satanism.
Okay.
But I'm not really sure specifically.
This is 100% theism, and the more I delved into it, the more I found like fucking white supremacy. So I don't fucking.
Is this like Order of Nine Angels, guys?
No, this is somebody I don't know who fucking broke off. There's a high priestess. There's one
Levian?
high priest. I think so. I think it's of Levian, or like, because they're fucking mortal enemies of the fucking like Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple.
No, so, TST are like white knights in black clothing.
Yeah.
We won't go there quite yet.
Yeah. Maybe another time. But so like when like the information is there for like fucking cursing and magic and all this type of stuff, and like it's valid. And she does a lot of research on like there's parts of there's scriptures in the Bible that she's found in like the Book of the Dead, and that she's transport. Oh shit!
Well, boom.
Yeah. Well, pow.
That's a universe saying taboo topic.
Yeah. Like hold on. But like. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, okay. So spiritual Satanism, they believe in fucking aliens, and they believe in Lucifer, like. So they think that like the angels are the aliens that are coming to fuck with Lucifer, and like Lucifer created man and all of this shit. And they believe that when you die, like the earth is this essential battery for these aliens.
Okay.
And like they take your life when you die, you go to this. You can either go to the light or you can fade to black.
Okay.
Like so, if you like somebody will appear to you as a relative, but they're not a relative, and if you show any sign like, no, that's a different thing. Okay, no, I'll get back on track. If you can either go into it and be refurbished and reprogrammed and like wipe everything, or you can go into the darkness and retain some of what you are.
So you either have a reset new game, or you just shut off the system.
Shut off, or like go.
Or you go
back,
into save.
You go. Well, I don't know. I don't exactly. It's like you go back, and then you choose yourself when you want to. And like it's like you retain the essence. And like I don't necessarily. It's an interesting concept. And like there's no one thing that I believe, you know, like there's no.
I'm interested in different people's beliefs.
Yeah.
Because
honestly, like I believe it's all the same. It's all the same, just a little bit different. But there are things to glean from every single type of religion, whether especially as someone who is into chaos magic, because that's what you do. You know, you embody the fucking.
I don't think a lot of people are familiar with chaos magic.
No,
so
it's not.
Phil Hine and Peter Carroll.
It's like even myself, like for me, like I do what I feel, and it's not about like I do things. And then I hear about them, and they're like, "This is chaos magic." I'm like, "Whoa, fucking
right,
shit!"
yeah.
Like, okay, well, I guess I'm a chaos magician. Like, that's how it is, you know. It wasn't that I chose to do it. I definitely keep to myself in that type of a thing, and then I find out later that that's what I'm doing. But like, you know, you embody whatever the fuck you want to embody. You study and then you let it consume you, and you become fucking Thoth. You become Kali. You become like fucking Andros, the fucking, you know, goetic fucking demon. Like, you can choose whatever the fuck you want to like you become them, and then you use your will and your power as that person to create whatever the fuck you want or do whatever you want.
It's almost spiritual method acting.
It is.
And it's super valid because they talk about this in Hindu esoteric scripture, you know, like invoking specific gods, asking for boons, doing personal sacrifices for the gods. I'm fasting this week, or I'm giving up sex, or whatever it is. Like that. This is a tradition. But in a Western sense, they had to rewrite it for Westerners to get. And you wouldn't get this knowledge unless you went to India and you sat down with the sadhus and you hung out to the point where they start being like, hey man, this is how it works. This is how it works. And man, I got some crazy books. One of them would be Bhagavan Das, It's Here Now, Are You? And he was a guy who went to India to study like holy life when he was 16 years old in like I think the early 60s.
Yeah.
And he hung out with Indian sadhus and Buddhist monks and Aghori Sadhus. So if anybody's interested in that real spooky shit, study the Aghori, Aghori, Aghori Sadhus. These are the holy men that largely worship Kali, and they take ego challenging rituals. And because their entire trip revolves around the dissolution and the destruction of life, you know, like they came about living in the cremation grounds of India, where like Usually they were holy men that had committed some crime. So instead of going to jail, they were banished to the cremation grounds.
Okay.
So what they saw happening in the cremation grounds became the aspect of the furious side of Buddhism, like the dissolution of life. So you've got Kali, you've got Durga, you've got Narasimha, you've got all these like furious fanged, clawed deities, because they witnessed vultures tearing apart bodies, and they witnessed tigers and jackals tearing apart bodies, and they had no other implements to use, so they used human skulls as their eating bowls. They ate human flesh. They did all they fucked corpses. But they aren't hurting anybody. So technically, karmically, they don't believe they're incurring bad karma. They're only challenging their own ego, and they're touching what they would consider the root of Kali's essence, which is Kali is the destroyer. She is the nasty version of Shiva. She is the active Shakti of Shiva, which is the principle and the action. And by going into these areas, they can do this, like, take drugs in a noble way. And they're learning themselves, and they're learning that aspect of the divine. And because they're recognizing it as divine, they're actually doing a righteous thing. They're not, it's not an ego-based thing, it's to destroy the ego. So Bhagavan Das, in his book, It's Here Now Are You, he ended up going and hanging out with the sadhus, and then he became an Aghori. He's still alive. He just got through a car accident, and he moved back to North America with the Ram Dass hippie love guru kind of trip, and he kind of became a bit of a celebrity in the late 60s and early 70s.
Was that the guy at the cult, the community?
He had a few. No, there was a few. They were popping up and following. He was never a cult leader. Neither was Ram Dass, but he was a teacher, and he hung out with like the Beatles and Allen Ginsberg and like that trendy cultural. But he was part of the Eastern philosophy movement, and then he went and became a born again Christian.
Interesting.
And a used car salesman.
Wow.
Because to him, this is another aspect of God I'm going to worship for a while. And he got a family. But then he found love in a girl half his age, his 18, 19-year-old girl. Yeah, of course. And she was Kali incarnate, her beautiful
just
vagina.
Destroyed his fucking life.
So Kali destroyed his life, and he delved into that kind of thing. Because his trip is like straight up, I worship the feminine God. Yeah. So I fall in love with vaginas everywhere.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, right?
I understand.
So that's one of his things.
I can
but
relate.
it's such a crazy book, and people are like, no, Bhagavan Das is not a role model. And I'm like, if you're into chaos, he is a bit of a role model, because he calls it like he sees it. He's like, over here is the ascetic Buddhist that doesn't believe I have to renounce my desire. But over here are the ego challenging Aghori that say do it all because it's all sacred. Then I get turned into a born again Christian, and this is a very reserved life, and I'm fitting into American society. But then Kali decided to give me a call and destroy everything. So now he's right back into Hinduism, but like we're talking like Ganesha. He also does CDs. Love Song for the Dark Lord is one. I listen to it all the time.
Wow.
He did a collaboration with the Beastie Boys, which was called Now, and they do the beats behind him doing mantra. So that Bhagavan Das's book, It's Here Now Are You, is one of like the good ones that I wish I still had. I lost it. And he was actually, if you've ever heard of Ram Dass, Baba Ram Dass, he wrote Be Here Now. And that was like the big book, the 60s esoteric Buddhist counterculture, Hindu counterculture, transcendental meditation. He was the big guy in the late 60s and 70s. And Bhagavan Das was the guy that got him turned on to Buddhism. So he was kind of like a mini guru, or like not quite the big guru, but so it's very interesting lineage there. And we're talking like these guys would hang out, and this is all they did. They didn't just talk about it on a podcast. They did it. And they got together and they did it. And then when people like Blavatsky or Crowley, they went over there trying to glean a little bit. Well, these guys were actually in it, and they were playing with this stuff. And to read their books, because Ram Dass doesn't talk anything about the Aghori. Bhagavan Das, he's like, oh yeah, straight up, I'm still an Aghori. Look at this tree. This tree is yoni. You know?
Wow.
So
like, this just makes me think of, because I've seen this just makes me think of this group in the States where someone from Hinduism came over, and they were put on essentially a pedestal, and like all these people came, and like this whole community was built around this town. And so like,
oh, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, I saw a documentary, but then there's an episode on Forensic Files where so the leader steps back a little bit, and then there's a woman that kind of takes over, and like there's this fucking weird battle with the town. Like all these people have in this group, they have guns and shit. They like have their own mall, they have their own movie theater, they have their own fucking economic system, and then they branch out, and there's a town near them, and so then they all kind of like move into city council, and then they run the town. And then this one woman, she commissioned people to spray E. coli on top of the food to like biological war, man, like biological warfare on these motherfuckers. And like they found out afterwards, like the compound got raided, like they escaped. These two women were hiding in the UK somewhere, and like the fucking the leader got arrested, and he didn't know anything about it. Like he didn't know what was happening.
Oh yeah.
And, like,
man, that cult shit's like it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when you were talking about your mom and like these gurus that come. There's a seeking personality. And
my mom and like the elders.
Well, somebody who's seeking truth.
Yeah.
Seeking that confident truth.
Yeah.
And all it takes is the absolutely unwavering confidence of a person with a vision to say, I've got the truth, and answer some questions. And then everybody's like, oh, they have the truth. I'm signing up for that. And
it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and like I'm part of a family.
Yeah. Like the Process Church was one example when you talk about like the satanic but apocalyptic cult. Are you familiar with Process?
No, I'm not.
Oh, dude. Okay, yeah. Process was led by Robert de Grimston and his wife Mary something or another. They are largely considered one of the most prominent underground satanic cults in the world because they started in England and moved to California. They lingered with Manson and those groups, Process and Scientology.
Something I'm interested in.
They were ex-Scientologists that took the psychological shit, and they started as a deviant psychotherapy cult. And they would help people realize themselves through these ego-challenging disciplines. And then they had a revelation, and it became religious. And their logo looks like an iron cross, but it's 4 Ps. And it's like it looked kind of like a swastika. And their idea was that there was 4 great gods, well, depending on the era that you listen to. But you've got Jehovah, Christ, Satan, and Lucifer. And they're all equal because they're different aspects of the universe. So Jehovah is the judgmental righteousness. Christ is the coming birth of love.
Christ's coming.
Yeah, Christ coming all over
all over you. Let Christ come in you.
So then Satan would be the destructive judgment, or not even just destructive element, and what was Lucifer would be the hedonistic, feel good element. And they believed that the universe or the human psyche was guided by an amalgamation of one. Most people are guided by one or another. And then there's also the gray man. They also believe that the gray man is like completely out, and they don't even count. They're just like NPCs,
like
right?
The simple programs.
So 100%. And so if you are part of the process, you could go to one of their meetings and you go up and you have a little chat about your Christian view on the world as like the coming, or I'm a Luciferian, so if it feels good, here's some delectable food, and here's some sugar, and here's some fat, and here's some salt, and it's so good, and let's have sex. Or if you're a Jehovan, it's like, I eat plain bread and water. I am living a staunch lifestyle, and all of them were part of the same organization. And like, so you'd have somebody who was like a righteous moralist right next to somebody who wants to destroy everything, like an acceleration.
It's like cults inside of the cult. It's like factions. That's what it is. It's factions of a cult.
But it's all one.
So then they would have they would have their own representatives to then meet within the whole thing. There would be a lot of fucking politics amongst each faction, but then also together to
they respect each other because it's an apocalyptic kind of thing. They're like, the end times are coming. We're living in the end times. So they put out a ton of magazines that are collectible as shit if you can find them. They all wrote essays. So like one a follower of Lucifer would write an essay, and they had like sex, death, fear magazines, and they would sell them on the streets of California and of London, and they influenced an entire movement. Like, there's still an underground current of process theology that goes on, and but it's very interesting because, fuck, California subculture. You read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas from Hunter S. Thompson, and him and his lawyer having a conversation where the lawyer got the adrenochrome and pineal gland from a satanic freak.
Yeah, sure he
a
did.
member of the process. No, that's what he says. He got it from a member of the process, and Hunter S. Thompson's like, man, you don't even talk about the process here. They'll put you in jail just mentioning those freaks.
Fuck off.
Right? And if you read, or there's a new documentary on the Son of Sam, which goes into his involvement with the process church and elements of like the satanic factions of the process.
Yeah, that's something that they. Oh well, actually, I think I saw something and they had a satanic aspect, but they never actually gleaned into it, and they could never. I think that would be out of fear then, because if what you're saying is true, like, and what I heard on the documentary, like they had a satanic aspect that the investigators were kind of leaning towards, but then they abandoned all of that.
So the process church, you're going to have the Christians, and you're going to have the Luciferians, and you're going to have the Jehovahans, right? Which are like staunch monks. But then there's this underground within that sect that were accelerationist evil dudes that took their Satanism very seriously.
Yeah, interesting.
And that, I think, is when you get into like the hardcore, badness, for lack of a better term. I don't like to throw the word evil around, but that's was their deal.
Well, socially unacceptable at this point,
So when you talk about the Californian links between Manson and Satanism, or I guess I think that documentary is called Sam I Am. It's the newest Son of Sam. I think it is.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
And they talked about the link between specifically the process Satanists. Okay. And so the process Church of the Final Judgment is where that I got into them when I was in high school, or reading about them through the band Integrity that I talked about.
Yeah.
And they had the Holy Terror Church of Final Judgment was their like record label philosophy.
Yeah.
And now there's an entire subgenre of like hardcore that's Holy Terror hardcore, and it's all like apocalyptic kind of shit, right?
Well, I think you might have seen I put up a story, and it was like for normal people, and then for gnomes, the music like Hill and Roll, like fucking like I don't even remember, but there was like a giant fucking list, and then there's the humans just like gnome music, like the hedonistic level, like there's so much of like in our society, it's like if it feels good, we do it. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, like if it feels good and you want to do it in the like it. In my perspective is like if it feels good in the moment and I want to do it, that doesn't mean that I should do it.
No. If you follow the path of if it feels good, do it, you're gonna end up an obese, sex addicted drug addict.
Yeah, okay, well, so I'm one of those things, but like you can just guess. But like obviously I don't do drugs and I'm not obese. So here's the thing, like sure, you're going to end up doing that, but at the same time, like you're going to end up hurting a lot of people.
See, that's where the consequences of your behaviors, there's ways of doing almost everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And with respect. My partner and I, we took an animist course, and the animist course respects everything. Like the wind has a personality, this animal has a personality, this water, this forest, this earth, this microphone, everything's got a level of sentience to it. And if you show respect for that, then you're okay. But when you stop respecting and you start just being that selfish taker, like the human species for the last 2,000 years, or largely guided by Abrahamic religion, dominance over the everything, well, then you're going to run into some problems, and you're going to have some toxic consequences for your toxic behaviors. When it comes to any drug use, you can use drugs. Don't let drugs use you. Sexuality, anything like that. But when it starts taking over you, that's almost like that egregoric clinging.
Yeah, it's just like if you just abide by something and you don't check yourself, and like you're just like, I do it because it feels good, then it's like, well, does it actually feel good? And like, are you actually understanding the consequences of what you do before? It's like I don't just like give myself to every single person that has a hole, or that also like that draws my attention. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna just fucking like give myself out freely to people who I think because like certain people do deserve deserve your time, your whatever, but like to then just like freely give it away also, and then just like have moments where you want to do something and you do it. Like I don't necessarily like, if it's good for me, I'm gonna do it. Yes. Like, but I have thought, it's like, you can't just like get like, penises tattooed all, I mean, you can, but like there's consequences.
No, there's always consequences. Like when you're engaging in a kink environment, everything's negotiated and worked within the parameters of the agreed upon negotiation, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's taking liberties, that you need to renegotiate. You need to say, this isn't working for me. We need to shut it down and maybe come back again, or maybe not. So the same thing with living in life. Where do we agree to have self-responsibility? Self-discipline comes into play. It's funny, my one buddy, he's like, well, man, you're one of the most self-disciplined people I've ever met. I'm like, how can you say that? Look at my gut, I love food so much and shit like that. But then he's like, but dude, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't eat meat, you don't eat animal products. Well, I haven't rubbed one out in almost a year now.
Oh shit.
So yeah, that was my trip for the last year. I'm doing the 1 year no fap thing.
Okay. I kind of think that I need to get on that shit, because man, I am a porn addicted motherfucker.
Exactly.
Ever since I'm 13 years old, man.
It opens up neural pathways. It opens up neural pathways, and it shifts how you view reality. You meet somebody and you don't see them as a human, you see them as a potential opportunity.
No, I can say that for sure. And this is this battle that I'm personally on for like masturbation and shit. Like I've been watching porn and looking at porn since I was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm. Well, me even longer, because I was interfered with as a child. And then that was kind of like, oh, this is normal for a 5-year-old to watch. Right.
Wow.
And so from that point on, this gives me a dopamine trip. I get high from it. And then the entire time growing up, I had some fucked up attitudes when it came to sexuality, because it was about my pleasure. This other person is just a conduit for my personal gain. And I didn't look at people. I had a very sociopathic attitude about it, where I didn't look at people with empathy, with emotional validity. So now coming into that, these elements of self-responsibility that I'm older, that's that challenge that we have to step into. It's the last thing I want to do, which means it's probably the most important thing to do. Right? Where I'm like, no, go without. Go without.
Well, for me, like being sheltered and being this, and like discovering porn at 13, like still in the shelter and like hiding who I am and this part of me from the fucking church, and like jerking off and then like asking for God's forgiveness afterwards, and being programmed to think that I'm bad and dirty for doing this. Like it's that taboo, it's that forbidden fucking thing that like, and yes, the dopamine, and there is an aspect of what you're saying, like viewing this person as like a fucking meat popsicle that I will fucking pound the shit out of. And I mean, me personally as a lover, like I am very much like giving in terms of like pleasure and whatnot. So like as much as I do want mine, I want to give more, but like it comes down to it more in a spiritual aspect for me, in terms of like being enslaved to this fucking thing. Like as much as I love titties, it just becomes this thing where it's like I'm doing too much of one thing, and everything in moderation is good, but like to have a cache of like fucking 2 fucking terabytes of porn, like that's not fucking healthy. And like,
well, and okay, now look at that as that 2 terabytes of porn is how much space in your brain it's occupying. So with me, a big thing, and this coincides with like neuroplasticity, where energy goes where your attention flows, or energy flows where your attention goes, and those things that fire together wire together. Right. So when it comes to, I guess, choosing which neural pathways, no matter what, it's like a river. They're gonna that energy, or that your consciousness or your attention is gonna go down the road that is most widely trod upon. Kind of look at it as a forest. You're driving your way through a forest, or roads being built.
Ruts
are you going to take the 5-lane highway or the beat up like grid road? You're going to want to go down the 5-lane highway. That just makes sense. And that's your consciousness. So in order to make that rundown path a proper highway, just pull it.
Okay, I'm just trying to get it down a little lower.
So whenever you when you want to take that where you want your brain to go, you need to push your concentration through the new road, and until that road gets wider, and you let that other one grow over or not get used, so that just starts falling apart. So to me, my life has been, or at least the last 10, 15 years, has been a process of allowing unnecessary or potentially negative neural pathways to not be used and to forge new neural pathways in my brain.
Reprogramming.
Where I'm forcing my concentration or my attention to go down this road.
Yeah.
And not watching porn is the first one. Start rubbing one out without watching porn.
Yeah.
Or, going cold turkey is going to be fucking a recipe
It's
for
so
disaster
difficult.
for some
it's
people.
so fucking difficult, man. I've tried. Like, I went in at like the 2 terabytes. I fucking deleted that shit.
Yeah.
And like, so that was like my first step. But then I still find that I'm like compiling now again. All of a sudden I start anew and there's just like more and more and more. And it's like, yes, this is easy.
You know what's funny? In my social, because I don't really watch porn too much, and I'm still involved with fetish sites, but I don't go through the pictures. It's more or less to check my messages and to see if anybody wants to get beat up. And and then,
like with consent, of course.
Yeah, if they want to get beat up, I'm not calling them. Hey, want to do
hey, man, want to buy some death sticks?
And I'm also on a fetish site, so everybody's there for that reason.
Yeah,
right? But then there's the other element where, I'm at the point on my social media where I just started deleting the thirst trap chicks.
I did that and then I went back again. Like it's so difficult because like it's just beauty. Like
well, so is a nice shot of heroin.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I mean, I'm kind of in that aspect. I'm waiting until I'm like in my fucking 80s and 90s at the end of my life, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. Some of this.
Maybe it's kind of handy, I guess, when you start getting into your 40s. Because your testosterone level starts waning.
Okay.
So if you're doing that self-work, it's a lot easier because you just don't have that drive to procreate like you do when you're young.
Well, I mean, I got a vasectomy, so I don't have a drive to do that.
Well, it doesn't kill your testosterone.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so like the mental thing of it is still there, like in terms of like procreate. Okay.
Yeah,
so
you've got the what do they call it? The biological imperative to reproduce.
Okay.
So that's a big part of my self-work is my refinement. Like I've got a checklist, you know what I mean, of things that are important to check. And so far, come August 19th, it'll be 1 year without rubbing one out. I don't watch porn.
Nice.
And I have consensual relationships with a very short list of people. My partner and other 1 or 2 other people, but that's it. You know what I mean? And all of that has been negotiated.
Yeah. And well, like you're saying with willpower, like that's the thing that like especially with someone that I recently started like having interactions with, like this person has like extreme willpower, and I admire them so much for how they can like dedicate their focus and bring things to fruition and like
but that's just it. This is magic.
This
is magic.
And like that's just like it's actually really fucking intense to like be with this person in like whatever way is dedicated, agreed upon, and be looking at them and being like, I'm learning from you, like you're an inspiration to me, like who you are as a person, like your thoughts and like these things. And like to change it from like the physical 100%, you know what I mean? And like to now, because like I've been wanting to cut porn out of my life for like 2 or 3 years, and it's just been this ongoing struggle, right? So like that.
Well, here's a strategy: rub one out without porn.
Yeah. Well,
as much as you can. Just like use your spank bank in your brain, but not on your phone.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing, because then you start having that crazy relationship with the person you're with.
Yeah.
And not all of whatever's going on in your head, right?
Yeah, and like this, like personally, like the appeal of being with someone else, like it, like there is appeal in the moment when I'm fucking horny as shit, but as soon as that fades and like I rub one out, then you're done. Then it's done, and I'm still thinking about the like my partner or whatever the fuck, and it's like I don't give a single fuck about anyone else, and I've tried to initiate, and there's no real fucking desire.
That's well, fuck. We'll have to do the next podcast starting off here because we're just over 2 hours.
Okay.
But I just want to finish this on like the degeneration of traditional culture.
Yeah.
Where once upon a time, depending in the consensual, non-arranged marriage situation, you met somebody, you liked them, you got to know them, you courted them, you go on dates, you would ask their family's permission. Do you mind if I date your daughter or whatever, right? And then you get to develop this stuff. Then when you finally get married, you investigate sex together.
Yeah.
And that sex resulted in a child. And then suddenly that divine union of male and female was created into the greater whole of a family.
Yeah.
And that's what the ceremony of marriage is.
Yeah.
It's the divine union of masculine and feminine coming together for the greater union being a family. And it's that sacred thing. So what we've done instead is we fuck. And then after fucking, we find out whether we can tolerate each other. And then if we could tolerate each other, maybe we make a kid. And if we make a kid and we're together long enough, maybe we should get hitched.
Yeah.
That's an inversion of the tradition.
I mean, like, that goes back to, like, the weakening of, you know, and as much as, like, we're approaching a territory of Christianity where it's like the family unit, and like remove all sorts of like religion from it. And it in a way, it is true. First of all, I don't obviously I got a vasectomy and I really don't think people should have children. I don't think that I think that 90%.
We're going to have to come back.
Yeah, okay, you're
Next
right.
podcast.
But this was a quick 2 hours.
It was a quick 2 hours. We'll do this again. We'll do this again.
We can just honestly snowball down forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So if people want to get a hold of you, tear a strip off you, ask questions about your art, how do you spell your Instagram?
Ghsep_. Sorry, I didn't say it before, but it's
underscore before or after?
Underscore after.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so check them out on Instagram and we'll have them back.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, have a good one.
Peace.